Curvies, thanks for coming through. We're going to be just listening to and reacting to Amanda Seales when she's surrounded by 20 conservatives, okay? And I think this will be something really interesting to listen to because she's going to get into one of my theories that racism is about it all. And that, she's just going to go give her ideals as opposed to all 20 of these people think they have a point for on everything from reparations, politics, accountability, like all kinds of things. So, and we all know that Amanda Seales is an avid, renowned disruptor and advocate for truth, as am I, an advocate for truth, okay? I know that it's uncomfortable but I feel like if we go through the truth, then the only way to get to its solution is to approach it truthfully. So the only way to acknowledge reparations, the only way to get reparations is to fully acknowledge slavery. You see what I'm saying? And to constantly have these things under attack in 2025. It's August 18th, 2025. And right now today, the actual history of the Black experience in America is being rewritten again for the people who did the worst and don't want nobody to know. That they're so sensitive. Like they throw all kind of rocks, beat people, lynch people, all of these unalivings for eons and eons and eons. I mean, they've been running amok. And now in 2025, they're like, oh, we're not bad. And Julian Michaels was just on Abby Daniels show, I think her name is. And she was just on that show the other day. And the Julian Michaels, the one that's like from The Biggest Loser, who has a Black child. She went and adopted a Black human. And her stance is that Black history should be void because it means that white people are bad. And she's raising a Black human, you guys. Like, this is so crazy. So I feel like this conversation is right on time and right on par with the current temperature of not only the world, but even reality TV, on Love Island. There was lots of racism, lots of macroaggressions. I feel like we should stop saying microaggressions because racism is a big deal. And you labeling it micro this, micro that, it's like, oh, it's not that bad. Shut up and eat your bullets. Oh, it's not that bad. Go ahead and we're going to redraw the map so you can't vote no more because we're tired of hearing from you. Oh, it's not that bad. So they're microcosming all of this macro stuff. And it's with intention. And to dilute the experience and the truth in favor of feelings, when all the Black people will tell you in the world that it's facts over feelings, babe. It's facts over feelings, okay? And they're going to watch in a year or two. They're going to be like, stop facts over feelings. How they're all, stop woke. Stop woke. Everybody needs to stay asleep and do what we say when we say to do it. We say frog, you say jump how high. That's what they're counting on, okay? But the disruptors like Amanda Seales here got something for that ass, all right? And the truth tellers of the world got even more for that ass. And if you haven't been noticing, it's a lot more truth tellers telling truths that are being heard and in the face of this madness. And that's because, hey, people aren't standing for it anymore because the truth is what's supposed to be setting us free. So Amanda Seales is going to be telling her truth surrounded by these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many conservatives do you really have in stock? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20. 20 is how many you got in stock. Okay. So the premise is they come up, they get a timer, they get up to 7 minutes, and they start off like she'll say a point and then they have to race to the chair in order to debate her. And so like everything from reparations, somebody brings up Harriet Tubman, black on black crime, um, being self-sustaining and pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. Why don't black people just be more accountable? I mean, you only built the country, but be more accountable. We didn't pay your ass for it either, but be more accountable. If they could just be more accountable and self-determined. Yeah, they had that thing called Black Wall Street and we blew it the fuck up. But if they could just do that 20 more 11 times, we got 20 more 11 bombs for their asses. Okay? So a lot of their points are going to be dismissed immediately based off of historical facts. But unfortunately, I'm not sure where these people are getting their information from. I think it might be, the Snooty Fox. They used to have this hotel in LA called the Snooty Fox where they had jacuzzis in the rooms. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I'm not sure where they're getting their sound bites from, but if you literally open up a book before it gets whitewashed and rewritten again, then you might find out that some of the points that they're trying to make are based off of total conjecture and just like they can't name a point of reference for their points of reference, if you get what I'm saying. So, what I'm going to do is, oh, how did I get to that? What I'm going to do is let it play. I don't want to get hit with no copyright things. I'll flip it back and forth, or I'll point to the people who they're talking about. Because why look at me? So I'll be flipping it back and forth. That's what I think I'll do. I'll flip it back and forth. Let me get set up. Oh, I don't have my tripod in here. Maybe this will work. Maybe, what if I do that? Okay, so yeah, you can see that. Perfect. So I'm going to restart this because I was having a live reaction with you guys. I'm having a live reaction with you guys, but I did have it playing so we could get through some of those commercials, and hopefully that'll stick. Sometimes, even though you went through the commercials, they make you go through them again. So let's put our listening ears on and have an open mind and an open heart to receive some truths, healthy debate, a nice, robust, healthy debate. You know we love a good, robust conversation over here on the Larger Curves. And so, and like I say, most things lead to racism. So, but that's an offset of classism, which is a discussion for another day. So let's get started.
Toxic. Hey, let's get on the fact that there's no fathers.
So white culture.
Let's talk about that.
Stop.
What
You're
do we go
talking
for?
to a radical, not a Democrat. The radical simply is living opposite to our colonizers, which is an imperialist, capitalist mind state, and radical blacks do not believe that that is any way for us to have liberation. Well, here's what you all keep doing. You keep interrupting me when I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the point that I'm going to make. And yet you want me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works. If I show you respect, give me the respect back. Ooh, I knew I was going to be surrounded by ignorance, but damn, let's go. Greetings. I am Amanda Seals, widely known as a comedian, an actress, a disruptor, an annoying person on the internet who always tells the truth. And I am now an artistic intellectual who commits myself to making art that educates. And today, I am surrounded by 20 black conservatives. My first claim is it is undeniable that reparations are just and necessary.
So like I said, she posted a claim, and then one of the 20 races to the chair. So this first claim is reparations. I am a believer. I'm like, run me my money. Okay? That's where I am. Pay us. Everybody else got a reparation. Did you know we even pay reparations to the Holocaust survivors? And that happened all the way in Germany. We pay reparations to Japanese internment camps, Chinese internment camps. Indians have gotten reparations before. There have even been reparations to, everybody. Okay? So that means that they understand the concept. And the application should be linear. However, racism.
All right, reparations, fair, necessary,
My question would be,
Can you guys hear it okay?
Why would they get it? And how long are we going to sit here focusing on trying to get reparations? It's been how many years since slavery? 150 years? 1865? Whenever there's a real thing that the country wants to do, they do it. Stop Asian hate. Okay, there's a problem with the Asian hate. Let's draft a bill, sign it, and it's done. Anything needs to be done is done. With us, it's the carrot dangling in front of us that they don't really want to do. And it's not going to help. We need education. Oh, it's not going to help. No, it's not. We need education. Getting a check from the government is not going to do that. And we need proper education. A lot of us go to these institutions where we're not really prepared, we're not really focused, and we don't get things that help us in the real world. So if you want to help black people, a check from the government, from our tax dollars is going to get raised because, let's be clear, everybody in here is black. We all American. We all got to pay taxes. It'll go to that. So I don't really see how this is going to help us at all.
Okay. Well, first I'll start with, it will help on even just a moral level. The reality is that the United States has become very comfortable with the fact that it does not consider black people equal, and it shows that in many ways that I'm sure we will discuss over the course of today. But ultimately, there has not been a committed, concerted effort to shifting the mindset around the use of black people as a labor force in this nation. Back when it was slavery, now in the use of slavery as slave labor in prisons. So on a basic cultural level, reparations are an act of repair. They are an effort to say, our bad, we see you now. We have seen that done with Japanese folks.
So you guys can't see it, but on the screen, while she's talking, she has facts, her reference points, like in a real debate, how did you guys see that movie with Denzel Washington and Keke Palmer? And that was Akilah the Bee. Well, the other one, I think it was the Smollett girl, was the debater. Yeah, the Smollett girl. Jussie Smollett's sister was in this debate club movie that was so good. Oh my gosh. Where some like inner city kids went into a debate championship and ended up winning against like freaking Ivy Leaguers, And so in a real debate, you need to have usually an index card with your reference to back up what you're talking about. So like, because it's facts over feelings, right? So when Amanda speaks, her reference card pops up. So she's saying this right here, and a reference card's about to pop up.
Back when it was slavery, now in the use of slavery as slave labor in prisons. So on a basic cultural level, reparations are an act of repair. They are an effort to say, our bad. So
the first card says, SAN fact check. What's SAN? I'm not sure. Anyway, according to the Oxford Dictionary, reparations means the making of amends for a wrong one has done by paying money to or otherwise helping those who have been wronged. Super simple. Why not have reparations for black people? Like if you're against reparations for black people based off of the Oxford definition, then it's a big fuck you back at this point.
We see you now. We have seen that done with Japanese folks who were put in internment camps. We have seen that done with Jewish folks. We have seen that done even in the case of slave owners who received reparations. When it comes to the use of tax dollars to pay reparations, and this is going to come up a lot today, it's a matter of values, right? For me, my value system circulates around the fact that I think that as a community, we should all be engaged in repair for our community. So I don't think there should be any problem with there being tax dollars spent at repairing consistent efforts that have been made to impede black people. So the reparations you're talking about are not just related to slavery. There's reparations that have been discussed all over this nation in different communities as it relates to particular massacres, as it relates to redlining and the impediment of black people to earn wealth by having property. There's been
and simultaneously, what you cannot see is the people that are surrounding Amanda all have a flag. And they're there to argue with her, right? And if the person who ran to the seat is making a point, they leave it alone. But if Amanda's point starts overtaking their point, then a red flag is raised, because that's a red flag on the nonsense of the other person. So, and then when a majority of red flags are up, you get voted away from the table and a new person gets to come and try to talk about it. So right now he has heck of flags raised.
Impediments in various ways that can be repaired. And I want to also just add, there's reparations that are considered a cash payment from a government. There's also the version of reparations that shows up in how funds are allocated to specific groups of people. So there's multiple ways in which what you're stating cannot happen could very well happen.
So we are still getting the commercials, and they're not letting me not have it, so I'm just gonna mute it.
Okay, now as far as the money going towards certain things is going to help us, let's look at Baltimore Public Schools. They get, I think, the third most money per pupil in the U.S. of A. Like 15.
Okay, fact check. Baltimore City spends $18,272 per student, the 13th highest of the nation's 100 largest districts. Despite the spending, only 16% of 8th graders read at or above national standards, and only 13% of 4th graders.
$1,000 per student, but yet the majority of the population that comes from that environment can't read. They're illiterate. So we're dumping money on the situation, yes, but yet we're not getting the results we should get from it. Money's not going to help the thing. We need to just focus on what we need to focus on. As far as black people being labor force of this country, what else are we doing? We got 25% of us on some kind of government assistance. One out of every few black.
Flags are going up. Fact check. Black people receive varying levels of government assistance. 37% are enrolled in Medicaid or CHIP, or 24% receive SNAP. 13% receive free or reduced school meals.
I mean, we'll go to jail. We got to do something. We got to work with our hands.
As of 2022, black people made up to 12% of the population, but accounted for 26% of the jail population.
We're tools do something because we're not doing much of anything. And also, one more piece here. Reparations, again, always jumping in front of us, never going to happen. As long as you've been living, as long as I've been living, as long as everybody been living, they say we need it, and it never gets done. One more piece.
You just said one more piece and you're adding
Hold on, I promise.
So hold on to it. No, hold on to it.
I'm going to land the plane. I'm going to land the plane, I promise. Reparations is a thing, like I said, it's a carrot dangling in front of us. They're never really going to get it done. And if it was going to get done, it would have already been done. It's just something that they're using to try and make us stay Democrat. That's what I wanted to say.
Well, Democrats are not doing reparations either. This is not partisan. This is black partisan, baby. Okay?
Well,
this is not partisan.
Who do we vote for? Who do we vote for 90% of the time? There's no incentive.
To be quite honest, you're not talking to a Democrat. You're talking to a radical.
Okay, but
let's land this plane very quickly.
Who do we vote for?
Let's land this plane quickly. You're talking to a radical, not a Democrat.
Okay, and you are your own person.
Let me tell you something now. I don't know what they told you, but if they told you that cutting me off is how we're going to get clicks, stop it now.
Oh, no.
That's not how we're going to. That's not how we're going to intervene. A debate does not require continuously cutting somebody off.
Okay, no problem.
Now, I do want to state this. You're stating things as it relates to how money is not fixing a problem, without acknowledging the fact that the problem doesn't exist in a vacuum, and that there are so many other factors that are
see his red flag. See his red flag.
You can put all the money into all the public schools you want, but if you are also putting all this money into policing, into communities that are not getting resources, then you are also creating your own conundrum. The other part of this is that when you're saying they, the they is a broad context, and the last part of this that I will say is that you keep saying they're dangling this in our face, they're dangling this in our face. Slavery lasted for 400 years. It hasn't even been 400 years since slavery. So should we be only fighting for a quarter of the time to get repaired?
All right, I'm so sorry.
Oh, so many red flags.
Please return to your seat.
So many red flags.
You know what's smart?
So many red flags, you guys. I hope you're enjoying this debate, this healthy debate. Feel free to put it in the comments if you're agreeing with Amanda when she's talking, or the conservative that the radical is talking to. Put your own POVs in there, even if it's not for or against anybody. Hey, yeah, let's pontificate. The only way to do it is to do it.
My name's Matt Nuclear.
Hello, Matt Nuclear?
Matt Nuclear, yes.
Matt Nuclear, give me another handshake on that. Let's do it.
I appreciate having this conversation with a beautiful black woman like yourself. This is nice, beautiful arena here. I just agree that reparations are necessary. I think the most important thing that's necessary right now for the black community would be the stopping of violence, especially black on black violence. I don't see how reparations are going to solve anything. You can give everyone here like a $50,000 check, especially people that are in the streets who are committing violent crimes consistently. A $50,000 check is not going to fix anything. It's not going to increase the median household income in the next 10 years by 10% or 20%. For example, we have the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. We prevented Chinese people from getting citizenship and even entering the country. We discriminated against them. And
fact check. Congress passed the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, banning laborers from entering the U.S. At the time, Chinese workers came to America to send money back to their families, and they were willing to work for lower wages than Americans. And the SAN thing is an actual app, a fact app, I think, and so they're using it to convey the facts when we teach.
Basically put them under apartheid, even here in the United States, yet they have the highest median household income. How is that possible? How come they don't complain and feel entitled consistently to beg for reparations and beg for this when they are killing each other 90% of the time, which is the rate that black people kill each other, according to the FBI?
According to FBI data, black murder victims were killed by another black person in 88% of the cases.
Oh, young man.
Yeah, white people are the oppressors.
According to the Department of Justice, the homicide victimization rate for black persons, 21.3 per 100,000 persons, was more than 6 times the rate for white persons, which was 3.2 per 100,000.
I'm not sure where your education came from, but they lied to you.
Stats don't lie, though.
Statistics lie all the time. So let's start there, particularly when the statistics are coming from the sources that gain from the statistics being shown a different way. So if you're going to start your argument on stats don't lie, you've already lost the argument. They lie all the time. One, comparing Chinese people who are immigrants that made a choice to come to the United States and comparing the continued effort of black people to ground themselves in a nation that continues to make impediments for them to show and live and exist in their true citizenship is a false equivalency.
I don't believe that happens at all. But no one here is in.
Are you acting right now? Do you really believe
I'm telling
this?
the truth. There's no systemic racism that I've experienced here in America. What system is racist? I think the only racism we've actually seen recently, systemic racism that we've seen, is the application of systemic racism against white people. The University of Western Washington, for example, has been trying to segregate dormitories, using black-only dormitories because black people feel safer amongst each other. But they're more likely to kill each other than white people are to kill them. That's just the truth. You have King Von rapping about killing other black men. Why should I think that the white man is the oppressor when black men are more likely to kill me?
Oh my God, this is scary. You need to think about me as your mama. Do not talk to me in that fashion. So let's check that now. Okay? So on a basic level, we have to understand that systemic racism is grounded in the realities that black people have not been considered an equal human being in this country since its onset. So there's simply no way to make the argument that there isn't systemic racism, and we have...
There are a lot of people that feel like this young man, and even in my own family, and they're usually very haven't experienced it, and then within about so like high school, so 17, 18, sounding like this. By the time they're like 23, they're like, oh my gosh, Shanti, I totally see what you were talking about. I totally see what you were talking about. And it's just like once the day the rose-colored glasses are removed from the eyes of a person who's black, it's a sad yet liberating day. And when you realize that there really was a whole entire system built just to freaking keep you where they want you, not where you were. So Black Wall Street is where you were, and where they want you is off of Black Wall Street. So that's what they blow up to make happen. And now they come back to the people who are displaced from the place they blew up and say, why don't you have something? So is that logical? Or is that caused by a system that allowed the system of a government that allowed its own bombs to be used to bomb American tax-paying, contributing citizens, homes, livelihoods, businesses, entertainment venues, all this stuff? Just blow it the fuck up to smither motherfucking rings. Just because I don't want them to have it. But then as soon as they don't have it, though, I'm going to come back and be like, why don't you have anything? Look at us. We have everything. Because they would also then move into the shit that didn't get blown up in the community that they chased us up out of. Then they would move into our houses in those communities. Sound familiar? Yeah. That's what happens in colonization. So it's this whole, the mindset is that, oh, it's self-inflicted. Just get the fuck up. But when you've been bombed numerous times by your own government and by the systems that are enacted by the government and both parties, the Republicans did it, the Democrats did it some more. Two cheeks, same ass, I always say. Okay? So it doesn't, regardless of that, there's still a system in place of the ass itself that the only thing that's happened is that you want to poo on black people. You want to somehow restrict them and then point at them and make them the problem. Your hands are up, comply some more. How, sir? My hands are where you told me to put them. I'm not sure why you decided to put these bullets in me. Oh my God. You were scared for your whole life, but I was running away from you? Oh my God, my shadow must have been really big. Oh my God. And then you get away with it. Oh my God. But there's something else I was supposed to do. There's another level of accountability that is put in place for the experience of that happening to you. And that is allowed within the system that these things happen in. And that's what the point is. And if people can't see it, you can't see it, because being woke is obviously a choice. And that's why they want to stop it. They think they could just tell you, stop woke, just stop it. And even though they're using it in a very wrong way, well, I'm going to use it in their way. I feel like the woke they're trying to stop is the woke from the knowledge that the system is in place and that it's not compartmentalized, because the compartment is the motherfucking system. We're witnessing it in Texas. Texas, they're right now in 2025 trying to redraw a map to exclude what? Black people's voices. But oh, you better be accountable. You need to be more accountable. Oh my God, you pay your taxes and you register to vote? But I'm going to draw this line to make sure that your vote doesn't get counted. That only can be allowed within a system of an ass of white supremacy. It's super simple. But I understand when you're nice and cozy and sleep and you just turned over and got the cool side of the pillow and you feel like sleeping in for another motherfucking 450 years at the expense of everything, because it affects everything, then that's your choice. Not everybody has to be the same. That's one thing here at LRGA Curves. Hey, we don't all have to agree. We don't. But it's facts over feelings. Okay? So let's continue with this, because I could go on and on. Now let me get to some of these comments. Because it looks like some people came to play. Oh my God. Oh, I love when people come to play. Come on. Come through. Can you keep up? Huh? Let's go. So, okay. I'm going to come back up here. Allie, thanks for coming through. Preach, brother. She mad. Who sold the first African slave? Who the fuck cares? Are you on crack? Is your mom? Was the movie Roots real? It was based on actual events. YouTube Live is a wild place. Usually. Blacks remove themselves from great things. That's a thought. Colonization? Do you mean conquerors? That's what they tell themselves. I don't know why you put these bullets in me. LOL. You're so full of shit, lady. So is your mom. Very true. Mayonnaise men love echo chambers, and anytime you speak to break up their echo chamber, they call it being too woke. Very true. But we can play some more. Come through.
seen in very clear ways the system operate in an organically racist way. Do not cut me off. When we talk about systemic racism, we can start with even the fact that redlining, which was implemented to discriminate black communities. Are you shaking your head that redlining doesn't exist?
No, I'm saying I don't think it really existed at all. I mean, no, I don't think so.
Redlining is the practice of denying mortgages to those who live in neighborhoods considered risky. Lenders targeted black and immigrant communities in urban areas. The practice was outlawed in 1968.
So it does exist, and stating that it doesn't exist doesn't make it no longer exist. Redlining absolutely exists. It is not something that's being made up. It's an empirical fact, and there are realities that exist because of redlining. We know that school systems are related to the way that property taxes are affecting the school systems. If a school system is not getting the same property value as the property taxes allow it, then it's not going to have the same efficacy at allowing for students to be able to get what they deserve. When we talk about systemic racism, we have to acknowledge that these private prisons are literally built based on the test scores of school students in 3rd grade. So if you are literally building prisons with...
Fact check. While there is a direct correlation between literacy and education levels and incarceration rates, the claim that prison planners use that data to decide where to build a school has been debunked.
The onset of, okay, if these people are not reaching a certain reading level, then we know that they're going to go down a prison industrial pipeline where we can use their free labor. Then how is that not systemic? And if you want to
stop them from entering prisons.
How are you going to stop people from entering prisons if your goal is to get them into prison?
Sure, make them try to be more like Ben Carson than be like King Von. That's very, very simple.
So how does King Von happen? How does King Von happen?
King Von.
Reparations. Actually, no, let me land the plane. We're talking about reparations, and what you're doing is actually just trying to get this conversation off the facts. And the fact is, reparations are just and necessary because on a basic level, black people built this country, and the country continues to thrive off of the labor that black people put into this country. And it would behoove you, young man, to really understand the way that your ancestors put blood, sweat, and tears into this nation that is still living off of those blood, sweat, and tears. And let me also add, there are reparations and then there is remunerations. Do you know the difference?
Yes, so can I finish one
No,
thought? I want
answer
to
the
say
question.
Ben Carson's cousins were killed at a very young.
I'm so sorry, you've been voted out by the majority.
Voted out off the island.
Y'all are acting. I really do. We in LA.
She said, I hope y'all are acting. So and that's the other part of a debate is usually you can like stay on point on like your point, you know? And yeah.
We in LA, and I hope some people in here are acting.
Okay, so she hopes the people are acting. I hope that they're not they don't have to be acting for me. They don't really want to go up there. He came from all the way to the other side, and they all went and sat down. They don't really want to go up there. It's still reparations.
Yes. The thing with the whole reparations thing, and I don't know, we're probably close to the same age, so maybe you can't comment.
How old are you?
I'm 32.
I'm 44.
Oh, really? Oh, you look young.
Thank you. That's what water and keeping stress out of your life will do.
Really? Liberal positions are real stressful.
By the way, I wouldn't know. I'm not a liberal. Carry on.
Well, it's a liberal position because conservatives believe in hard work. We believe in going to work and working for what you got, not asking for handouts from people who never had slaves. Some of the people that you're asking for money from never had slaves. And let's talk about the fact there were also black people that had slaves. So if you want to talk about that, how is that fair? If I'm a white person and my family fall on the side of the Union, why should I have to pay for slaves when this whole country was never all racist? Some of the founding fathers were abolitionists, and they hated slavery, and they actually put things in the Declaration of Independence and things too because they believed that there'll be a future where there would be a black president one day, or that there would be people in leadership that were black. There was people in the North who helped with the Underground Railroad and fought with the Union. So why is that fair for people who never had slaves, who fought against slavery, to have to pay for people that had slaves?
One, from my understanding, you are more interested in preserving the fairness of those who didn't have slaves than the fairness of those who are the descendants of slaves. That is priority to you than finding a fair way to accommodate those who have been the descendant of slaves.
Well, our ancestors wasn't asking for handouts. They were asking for equal opportunity. And we have equal opportunity in this country. We had a black president, just in case you didn't know. We had a black president and we had a black vice president. I think she was black. They said she was black. I don't know. So we had a black president, and you know who voted for that black man? white people, because you can't win a popular election in this country without white people. So Barack Obama is the product of white people. So let's get off this thing where, oh, America is so racist. What's making America so racist is people that continue to talk about racism and continue to focus on racism instead of focusing on unity and bringing our country forward. People that have this liberal mindset are infecting our communities, black people, and making us victims and not victors. I refuse to embrace a victim mentality, because that's not what our grandparents and Harriet Tubman and those people fought for. They fought for equal opportunity. Do not bring up
Harriet Tubman's name in vain, baby. Please.
Harriet Tubman.
Harriet Tubman was literally saving her family and others from slavery.
Yeah. You know who helped her? White people.
You know who helped her?
They were on the Underground Railroad.
You know who helped her?
Come on in.
No, you know who helped her?
God and
people who benefit from white supremacy. One of the things
it's a lie. White supremacy is a lie.
No, sir,
it's
that's simply not true. If that were not the case, then we wouldn't see the continued effort of colonialism and white people placing themselves in positions of power when they do not have the power.
Because their culture, black culture, is toxic. The black culture is toxic. We have produced a culture that is toxic. And let's get on the fact that there's no father. So white culture. Let's talk about that.
So just remember, people, that what the point is that black people deserve reparations, and it's just and necessary. And listen to what he's saying. It has zero to, he's not even on point. And that's what happens with a lot of these people that are going to come up here. They're not even able to stay on point. They're so busy trying to get to one of those dog whistle moments. They're so busy that they can't even make their point about reparations. Okay? So now he's all the way over to, I think he's about to start talking about fathers being out of the house or something. And that has nothing to do with the point of reparations being owed to a group of people who were brought to a country where the people who got them here benefited from their free labor and industries were built on it. And the people that worked those industries were never paid for that work. That's the bottom line. And yeah, your mom might not have did it, but the tax system that your mom benefits from is about to pay the people that didn't get paid for building this country. It's simple. All of a sudden, it's the current people didn't do the shit. Well, okay, give us back the denim jeans, because it was called Negro cloth, because the color indigo came straight from Africa, and the way to weave the cloth was straight African. Give us back the doorknobs. Give us back all the inventions that black minds created under the duress of slavery. The conditions of slavery. The after effects, like she already brought up, redlining, it's just one. After effect is a side effect of slavery. You know how medications have side effects? So do isms. Racism has a side effect. Classism has a side effect. And he's about to talk about a side effect of the system of white supremacy, which since slavery removed black men from households. And now that black men are out of households, he's about to be like, well, black men are out of households. Really? Okay, let's keep on. I mean, hey, everybody has an asshole.
Stop. Let's talk about that. None of this is going to work if y'all are just going to sit here and make up shit. It's not going to work. No, it's a debate. You're in facts.
You're putting off emotional liberalism right now.
I'm not putting off emotional liberalism. You're putting off unfounded lies
based
in conservatism.
Remember they did the misinformation thing all summer where everything concerning kids, they said
you're carrying a chain around your neck of an apartheid nation that actively wants to harm black people and not Jewish people. But let me bring it back. That was not happening in the context that you're saying.
And they were selling their own people. Black people still sell their own people today too, by the way.
I don't know if I'm going to last.
We're selling our own people.
I don't know if I'm going to last.
You probably won't last with me.
I won't, because your ignorance is so overwhelming.
That's our name calling.
No, it's not name calling. You won't have an argument because you keep cutting me off.
Oh, well, that's fine. They don't let me. I made my point.
You didn't make your point.
I made my point.
You haven't made your point. And let me just tell you about your point. You started off saying we believe in hard work, and we believe in being compensated.
Reparations is not though. Reparations is not hard work. It's stealing. It's robbing.
See how he does?
You said you believe in hard work, and you believe.
He may as well be a housewife. He is not letting her tell a point. You know how in the Housewives they start talking loud and over you and don't let you talk because you're about to tell the truth and they want their lie to mean more, so they just yell until Andy wants to move on. Mm-hmm.
And being compensated for hard work. Were slaves compensated for their work?
They were compensated for their work, but why should people who are sitting at home playing video games, smoking marijuana?
Are you sitting at home playing video games? Are you sitting at home playing video games? Am I sitting at home playing a video game? No. And I don't know who these people are that you're talking about, because the majority of the black community is not sitting at home playing video games. Where are you getting that statistic? Where are you getting that statistic?
Pause. You've been voted
Look at
out.
all the red flags. He got voted off the island.
Let's go.
You got to leave the villa, fool. You got to leave the villa. He didn't even make a point. All he did was talk over her. He never talked about the point of reparations. He never validated his thought that reparations are not due for a specific reason. He doesn't have a reason. But she has a specific reason that reparations are a valid thing and have been paid before to prove the validity of her point. But okay. Look, they're walking up
From the bottom.
from behind.
That's what it is. Okay.
These people really don't want to go. I wish you could have seen that clip for real. This lady that she's about to talk to came from behind her on the other side of the circle. She was like, let me see. She was this lady. And look where Amanda is. Right in the, you see where Amanda is? So, and she came from all the way behind her. And the man who's right here in the hat, who's in the, where is he? This guy right here in the striped hat, he got up. And this other person from behind the chair got up. And they just stood there. And she slowly walked over there compared to the people that was running a second ago. I just wanted to point that out. I thought it was funny. Ooh, Callie Nola, I wish you could come up here and talk about some stuff with me. Because the people all have thoughts. I love it. Okay, so somebody says, go to West Africa and get your free money. Oh, Chris is a wily one, huh? Ooh, does Chris think that was like he's reading somebody? So go to West Africa and get your money. Ooh, you told him, didn't you? Very intelligent man against dumbass woman. Ooh, me Tarzan. Me come. Me have thought. Me say thought out of asshole. Ooh, stinky thought. Who sold that group of people? Jeff Pillman says, white people went to Africa and chased down Tyreek Hill and Usain Bolt on foot. Sounds like he's so smart. I bet he's in that, what's that thing called where you're a genius? Neither one of us know, huh, Jeff? Callie Nola. I feel like I'm seeing black people realize that black identity doesn't make any sense. We're different groups of people. That's what Callie Nola says.
So I just wanted clarity because I think it'd be helpful. You said radical. I wanted just clarity on that, and then also with reparations, you said it's not just money; it's other things. I just want to know, like, what do you see as like the grand picture of what would help?
The grand picture of what would help
of reparations, like what does that look like to you?
Oh, great. Reparations. What reparations looks like to me is a combination of reparations and remunerations. And reparations are about repair for damages that have been caused based on harm. Remunerations is a monetary response to work that has not been paid for. So if you come and paint my house and I don't pay you, you can take me to court and get remunerations for the work that you have done. So we're actually owed both in this nation as black people, and there are incredibly just clear-cut records that show the buying and selling and purchasing of slaves, the work that was done, also the intellectual property that was stolen from slaves, right? Because there was so much inventing that was happening, and there is also quite a bit of other reparations that are being discussed as it relates to property being stolen, as it relates to, again, redlining and the inability for black people to get loans, etc. And these impediments being solely based on their race.
As far as like discrimination.
Yes, like they're being solely based on their race and not being about anything other than you're black so you can't, right? And so when it's very clear-cut like that, there are very distinctive responses to that that can be done through a cash payment, as well as through measures that are being done to create funds for creating resources and responses like housing, like access to food, access to education, etc., that certain communities have not had access to because of the fallout from these things.
And I just had a quick question for clarifying. With the funds, I'm wondering, where do you think those should come from? Like the actual money, like is that raising money? Is it taxes? Like what does that look like?
Well, I think what they've been doing with these different reparations committees is they're looking at, all right, well, how much has this city or how much has this town or how much has this country gained from the estimated amount that was stolen from these people, right? So they're looking at like, what is this wage amount? For instance, like if you look at during that time, okay, what was the wage amount that a hired worker would get for this same work? All right, and so we're looking at how was that wage not provided and what is that pool that is being created? And then we're looking at, all right, where can that wage come from in terms of how has that wage been applied? So there are spaces where this is very clear. I think the last thing that you asked about was the difference between liberal and radical.
Yeah, please.
Ultimately, the concept of liberalism is really just not Republican, right? I mean, that's essentially what it's become.
I would disagree with that, but I understand that's your stance.
There's a very generic concept of what liberalism is, in the sense that it's simply saying that I am a part of the bipartisan mind frame, but I am not a Republican. It's a mindset. It doesn't always show up in action, but it's a mindset that says, I don't support extremes in certain ways, or I want the government to show up in certain ways. I know there's a conservative point of view that says there should be less government, but even though it just says that, the action is very different. The radical mind state simply is living opposite to our colonizers, which is an imperialist, capitalist mind state, and radical blacks do not believe that that is any way for us to have liberation.
Thank you for explaining.
And thank you for being very respectful.
We were told to be respectful. We're neither enemies.
Surrounded is now a podcast, available wherever you listen. Search Surrounded, plug in, and stay part of the conversation.
So yeah.
Anywhere, anytime.
Shout out, this is Surrounded.
My next claim is that black on black crime is a result of underinvestment and over-policing.
So you said that black on black crime is due to...
Okay, real quick. My thought on this particular thing is that black on black crime is real. And I feel like it's more a proximal thing, because insert neighborhood here. And if those are the people you're living around, then that's going to be who your robber is. Like, it's not like robbers, well, they drive into Beverly Hills sometimes, but they're not like just typically going over there to like a whole other neighborhood. And it's a lot of people that are known to each other from the neighborhood or something like that. I wouldn't say that it's like totally random, but it's more proximal, and it is induced by an environment where the proverbial powder keg is always ready to go off. But if you go to a white neighborhood, then the crime in that white neighborhood, if you run the stats, is by other white people. If you go to a Chinese neighborhood, and just according to the stats, most of that crime is going to be from people in that neighborhood who is other Chinese people. And insert neighborhood here is just my thought on that. In addition to other things. So lack of resources is a major one. Yeah. Anyway.
Underfunding and over-policing, essentially.
Yes.
I actually don't necessarily disagree with one of those. I think that, however, the government, who do you think should be responsible for the funding piece of the black community? Should that be something that the government should step into, or should it be something that we as black people need to handle ourselves? Dr. Jordan Peterson and even Thomas Sowell and several others have stated one thing, that poverty and crime, there's a positive correlation. There's also a positive correlation in the black community of absentee fatherism being one of the root causes leading into criminality. Black males that grew up without a father are 10 times more likely to engage in criminal activity. And so I think
Can I put a pin right there and ask you a question?
Ask me whatever you like.
What is the root cause of there being less fathers present?
Bad decision making on the part of the fathers. We live in a patriarchal system. Like it or not, men have dominated the socioeconomic, economic, and political power of this country and the world since our existence. So our bad decision making, especially when we focus on the black community, is the root cause of fathers.
What type of decisions?
Not marrying the women we decide to lay down and have children with. Not being careful with the seeds that we plant in women. No woman can get pregnant without a man planting his seed inside of her. So therefore...
So it's marriage.
Well, that's a part of it. Marriage is a part of it.
Okay.
But the truth...
Okay, Chris, I like to play. I like to play, but all of that is not okay. Okay. So I don't know. Should I even give you one more chance? One more chance. Or should I just put you in a timeout so you can learn your lesson? Why are you calling her a butch lesbian? Has no clue. What's that? What has to do with anything? See, you can't make your own point. You had to resort to name calling for like a point. Dude, you would have lost. You wouldn't even been gone. They would have put up all their red flags on you. All of them would have been put up on you, Chris. You would have got voted off the table.
Piece that I'm looking at is connectedness between familial units. The black community was at its economically strongest while being at its poorest during the segregation era. Prior to 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King in his last speech said that we have an annual income of more than $30 billion a year, which is more than all of the exports of Canada and more than all of the exports of the United States and more than the national budget of Canada. That was when we were economically at our poorest. Yet 85% of our black children were growing up with a father in the home. There was less black on black crime. There was less disenfranchised.
Why was there less black on black crime?
Because we needed to live together. We had to stay by each other.
What was there also less of?
I'm not sure where you're leading. That's a leading question. I don't like
You don't like this?
I don't like leading questions. No. I like direct stuff.
So essentially, when we were living in our own communities, we were also policing our own communities. So we were not being used as statistics in the same way to determine how resources were provided to our own communities. When we were going to the government saying, hey, we deserve because we are supposed to be separate but equal, we weren't saying, hey, we want to be with y'all. We were essentially saying, we want what you are stating we deserve. And that is what all of the efforts of the civil rights movement has been. It's literally just been to say, you said when we got out of the Civil War that we would be considered citizens, and all citizens should be getting equal access to these things. However, you are actively allowing the Klan to harm us. You are actively allowing...
Who's killed more black people, the Klan or us?
I would like to continue my statement. I let you speak uninterrupted. When we talk about this concept of who is harming us, we are really making a false claim when it comes to black on black crime, as if there isn't white on white crime. There's also this unnecessary effort to try and pathologize black on black crime in a way that you don't try to pathologize white on white crime. There are white people killing each other every single day. Now, they may be on jet skis in the pictures after they shoot up their whole family, but nonetheless, there are white people killing each other every single day. Now, much of the reason why you may see more numbers in terms of black on black crime are for two reasons. One, the statistics be lying all the time. We have seen this. We have seen this in a real way. So in New Jersey. So in New Jersey.
What numbers can be trusted? Because the previous speaker.
I'm about to tell you right now.
Okay, so your sources.
You can't such numbers. No, I'm literally about to give you an example of numbers not being able to be trusted.
Okay, talk to me.
That's what I was doing. Then listen.
Oh, the my ears on.
So listen, in New Jersey, they had a statistic that was created by the police department that said, look at how many black people are committing crimes. Look at how crazy this number is. These black people are so exorbitantly violent. Look at this. And then people went and actually matched the names that they were booking with the faces of the actual people incarcerated. And it was proven that they were lying.
So that's one instance. Hold on, you're talking to somebody that works as a police dispatcher when I'm not making contact. So here's the thing. You see, the truth is, you're about to see the truth. You just give me a second. Like Trump said, just give me a second. I'm going to do the weave, but give me a minute.
Well, here's what you all keep doing. You keep interrupting me when I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the point that I'm going to make. And yet you want me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works. So if you want me to keep getting louder, I will do it. But ultimately, if I show you respect, give me the respect back. I let you talk. I let you make your points. I'm countering your points. And my points are just as valid as yours, even though you got a pocket square and a Church of Christ pin on your chest.
It's not a Church of Christ.
Whatever. It's a cross. Same difference. You got an American flag and you think you know something because you a cop. And ultimately,
not a cop.
It's ACAB all day over here. So let me make that clear. But let me also make my point. My point is that you can sit here and blame black people on black people all day long and not acknowledge that we are forced into... You're going to interrupt me again.
I haven't even said a word.
All right, that is flagged, so I'm going to ask you to return to your seat.
Return to your seat.
Y'all just want to be seen. I don't need to be seen. Hello.
How are you? I'm Jasmine, the pretty say less outfit.
Thank you.
So this is my thing. I think the premise of your question was black on black crime. So I think I'm coming from a place, and I guess my issue is having had my biological father murdered by a black man, having had my cousin shot in the head by a black man. We can talk numbers and statistics and what the people are doing, what the white man is doing and all that. But at the end of the day, I see when my family lives on the south side of Chicago, and I think you and I both can attest to this, and I'm not saying that there are not other factors, but we know that we kill each other at a disproportionate rate than any other race. Now, why we do that, and why 6,000 to 9,000 black men are going to be homicided or killed or whatever by the end of the year annually by other black men, whereas the likelihood of a black man being killed by a white police officer is less than 150 per year, we know that we kill each other at a higher rate. So I'm not debating that there are not factors at play, but because I've lived the experience as a black woman losing my father to be murdered by a black man walking down the street.
I just want you guys to notice something real quick. The woman who's talking to her is doing a lot of this. Like she's doing a lot of her hand movements, right? And she's like this, and this. I want you to notice this.
No worries, thank you. But walking down the street in inner cities and different things, knowing that it's more likely that my own brother will rob and rape me than a white man or a white officer, we got to be real.
What's your proximity to white men in the south side of Chicago? Are there even white men around to rob and rape you at the same rate that there are black men?
There are white men around.
At the same rate?
There wasn't a lot of black people in there, but then that doesn't justify the fact that we're destroying each other. So even if we get
Nothing,
like
we can agree on that.
Okay, because I feel like a lot of
nothing
times
justifies.
like, well,
I'm not a liberal. I'm not a liberal.
Okay, well, I will say that people that sometimes have your stance that are against conservatives, maybe they have this claim that they're making it up and making up the numbers. We know that we do that to each other. So I want to get to the root of the issue. Why are we killing each other? I think the root of the issue is we've lost our values and we've lost our resilience as black people. We sit there and we talk about what the white man did, and we talk about slavery and everything like that, but we have no self-accountability and say, you know what, at the end of the day, that is my black grandmother, that is my black sister, you are my black sister, and you know that a black man is more likely to rob you or commit some type of crime against you, and that's what we need to get down to the issue of. And like you were talking about earlier, like, hey, well, what's going on? You know, what do you think the answer is to one of the brothers that were speaking? I think it's the breakdown of the family. I think, like he said, because of our poor choices, and what happens is we look at domestic violence, for example. When domestic violence, women or men are even attacked, what is the first thing we say? It's like, you know what, it's not your what? It's not your fault. So that's what we do. We hold on to this narrative that, well, it's not our fault, and the issues in our community are not our fault, and the white man needs to give us something, the old white lady down the street is looking at me, and I don't know why she got braids in her hair, and we focus on all these other stupid things that don't matter. We don't get to the root of the fact that we're killing each other at a higher rate than any other race. It is self-hatred amongst us, I believe, that we can do that. But my mom's cousin, coming from the church parking lot, and guess who stuck her up and robbed her at gunpoint? A black man.
I need you to get to the point.
Like, so my point is that, no, and I'm not trying to be funny, unless, like you said, we're going to keep it respectful.
Yeah, but you're monopolizing the whole conversation.
I'm not trying to let you speak, but let's not get the attitude and stuff, because you're my sister and I respect you. So
I don't have an attitude, I'm being direct to you, but you're literally speaking this, and you're not going to do that with me either.
Okay,
so you're stating your point, and you've been stating your point for quite some time.
So say,
you have a
proper
reason
way
for me
would
to respond.
would you allow me to respond? So that's a better response. Go ahead.
The response that I have for you is that everything you're saying does not exist in a vacuum. I actually agree with you in that, yes, there has been an incredible denigration of black worth and black pride in this nation. I think it's also very important to acknowledge what has contributed to that. And to state that it is only black people that have contributed to that is a false flag. So we have to admit that. So in order to have this conversation around how we got here, you can't say, oh, well, we're caring about the white woman getting braids and that doesn't matter and this thing. All of that attaches. All of that is actually a very big part of the lack of worth of black people.
I'll ask you, do you think we're resilient? What does resilience mean to you? Do you think we have to be perpetual victims, or do you think that black people are resilient?
I think that those are two different conversations. I think that the concept of black people being victims is really trying to not provide accountability to where the root problem for the actual cause is. And if we keep saying that somebody is a victim and that doesn't mean that the other person should have to actually have accountability, then what are we really doing? You can do both. You can be a victim and be resilient.
How do we do both if you stay in the victim place? That's my question.
But your statement about black people staying in the victim place is also your point of view.
But how do we rise above it?
We continue to rise above it by, one, pouring into our communities with mutual aid, but two, by simultaneously making sure that we are challenging the systems that are in place to impede us. We have so many opportunities where we are trying to do mutual aid, and those things get disrupted by folks who want to have capitalist gain, by folks who want privatization. We used to have all these mom and pop businesses in our communities.
There's over 3 million black millionaires in America right now. You are an intelligent black woman that is successful.
That's irrelevant.
No one's stopping me from doing anything. I'm an intelligent black woman that
Many
graduated
efforts have tried to stop me from doing what I do. We are not all equal in our capabilities. And we are not all equal in our ability to be invested in by others.
I agree with
we are not all equal in our
resilient.
trauma.
Are we resilient?
We can't say because it is a false equivalency.
I believe that every black person has resilience.
We keep trying to cause.
I'm so sorry. You've been voted out.
Off the island.
First, I want to kind of get rid of this like right left ordeal. I really want to talk about just like our own personal views and what we've experienced, what we've seen. And when it comes to your claim about black on black crime, I really do believe, and I think a lot of people here do believe, especially based off of personal experiences and everything, that it is just lack of accountability. In the black community, we need to start taking responsibility for our actions and stop pointing our fingers at other people and the white man. Because to be honest,
why can't both happen at the same time? Both are causes.
Because you got to clean your own house before you go.
Why?
Because
if you're dirtying my house, if you keep pouring shit into my house and I'm cleaning it, why can't I do both? Why can't I clean my house and bar?
Okay, we didn't even really discuss that last lady. She was really passionate. She felt like she had a point. I don't think that she landed her point, in my opinion. Let's see what the comments are saying. Kelly Nola said, hey, Larja. Jeff said, so she wants to have zero police. What stops murderers and criminals? I don't know. We could ask 34 count felon in the White House how to do it, though, maybe. Chris says, kick me out. Do yourself a favor. Lead yourself and don't be misled by people like her. Callie Nola says, I don't think she wants to get rid of the police. I think she wants to go back to us living in our own communities and policing our own communities. That's what I was hearing too, Callie Nola. Callie Nola also said, see, this woman is saying we, but this woman is a completely different ethnicity. She's a Nigerian immigrant. Again, the black identity doesn't make any sense. Mo Will says, I'm black man and I watched the whole thing and Angela is a victim. Who's Angela? Callie Nola says, again, this crime is the result of financial insecurities. Financially stable people do not worry about running around committing crimes and robbing people. Again, this woman keeps saying us and we, but she is completely different ethnicity and a first generation immigrant.
Windows from you shitting on my
because
house.
it begins with responsibility within us. If we're like,
Yes.
okay, oh, the white person's doing this to me, the white person's not, we're not going to ever come to the core of the issue.
They are.
We need to take
and it's not even
responsibility.
just the white person, because now we have seen very many races, people of very many backgrounds that are actively participating in the effort to keep a working class down. Like that's absolutely a fact. It's not just white people. So I don't attend to that. But I will say the reality of there being systems in place is real. Over policing is a real thing. You know what's also been really real is the effort of violence interruption in certain communities, right? So we've seen this in Detroit, we've seen this in New York, we've seen this in Baltimore, where there are communities that have said, what we're gonna do is, we're gonna be like a neighborhood watch for our community. So that before the popo even come, before 12 even rolls up in here, we're gonna actually put ourselves in between the conflict and calm it down. And that has been incredibly effective. But you know what? It's not funded. It's not funded. And you would think that like city councils and mayors and governors would say, shit, you know what? This is going to save us so much money. Because why? Taxpayers keep having to pay for the fault of these police officers. And even though we say, well, only a certain number of people have died, that doesn't dispel the fact that a large amount, more black people are imprisoned than any other group in this nation. And that is not by accident.
Again, I started with accountability. And it just seemed like
But I disagree with you.
No,
I mean, I don't disagree with you.
Because here's the thing. Look at our media. Look at rap. Look at what we're glorifying.
Right.
We're glorifying violence.
Who's we?
The black community.
Who controls the
black
distribution?
community.
Who controls the distribution of these sources of media?
And who takes it in? And who takes it in?
Listen, if you're okay, so let me put it in this context. If I have a company, right, and you guys are my employees, and I determine what you get to eat every day, that's also going to determine how you exist in this company, right? Like if you come to work and I say the only thing you can eat is processed foods and fried foods, and you're not going to get to have the best vegetables, etc. What's that going to affect? Your health, that's going to affect your ability to operate, etc. This is how the United States operates. There's a lot of us that don't want to admit that as much as accountable as we want to be, all of our brains also don't operate the same way. Some of us are much more apt to be indoctrinated than others. That's a fact. There's a 1% of people that knows this. There's a whole show called Mad Men that's about advertising, etc. And if we don't acknowledge multiple things at the same time, then we simply cannot stop it. We can be as accountable as we want to be. And I hope that if you're right, because I hope you're right, I wish that it was a situation where if black people could just be accountable, then nothing else would matter. But unfortunately, that hasn't been the case, because we have seen when we have hot Black Wall Street in Tulsa and we have Black Wall Street in Durham, that when we actually do hold our own and build our own communities, they will still come and run it down.
Boss, you've been voted out. Please return to your
Voted off the island. Oh, look, they ran this time. That was a good run.
So I have two claims I want to settle.
Joshua's
So
about
I'm
to get
from
checked.
New Orleans, right? And I've seen black on black crime
Absolutely.
my whole life, right?
Yes.
I don't believe it has nothing to deal with the police. It's more with the community, because there's a lot of pride that's in that city, where to the point where this person ain't telling me nothing, I'm gonna kill him, I'm gonna take him out.
Yeah.
It's that simple in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Now Cali is probably the same way, but I feel like every state is different. You probably the way how your belief is might be right, but in New Orleans it's a little different. Also, my second claim is this: we proclaim so much about Black Lives Matter, but when it comes down to a white person killing a black person, it's a big deal. It just don't make no sense to me.
Do you know what the statement Black Lives Matter is actually stating?
Yeah, well, just started off from George Floyd.
Start off with Mike Brown.
Mike Brown, okay.
So Black Lives Matter is really simply just stating that when black people are...
We didn't really discuss the last guy. Let me see. It looks like Callie made some statements. Again, crime is a result. We said that. Again, woman. Just a note on policing towns have their own police force. So if we are still had our own towns, yeah, Yeah, that could help. And that's what she's saying. Let us police ourselves. It's like if you live in Chicago, and I don't know what the burbs of Chicago inner city are, but if you live in the inner city of Chicago, do you necessarily want a guy who's the cop? All the cops in your neighborhood are from a predominantly non-urban area where they won't consider you in a way that they might consider other people. You know what I mean? Anyway, I know that that's a thing for sure. I don't know how to make that stay. Okay, let's keep listening. Joshua has a point.
Murdered by the police, that our lives should matter. And that oftentimes it is not considered. It is oftentimes presented as we deserved it, or we must have done something to cause it, and that our lives are disposable. We also don't ever see true justice on the same level as others when the police incur violence against Black people. So Black Lives Matter is a statement asserting that our lives are worth justice, our lives are worth preservation, and we have seen in innumerable instances a level of restraint operated between the police and people of other races that they do not seem to carry with Black people. So that's what Black Lives Matter means. It doesn't mean that anyone else's life doesn't matter. It means that ours matter just as much as their lives.
That's good that you cleared it out for people.
I appreciate you. Now, as it comes to New Orleans, tell me this. Well, first of all, it was, I think it's the senator of Louisiana who literally made a campaign ad, Kennedy it was, that said, do you want Louisiana to be run by crackheads? Like, he said that, like, straight up.
A bunch of them in here. Yeah.
So here's my question about New Orleans. Would you say that New Orleans gets, that particular areas of New Orleans, for instance, like the Ninth Ward?
Yeah, the Ninth Ward's crazy, but that's what I'm saying.
Would you say that funding and attention is dispersed equally across New Orleans in terms of resources? Because I know that from living through Katrina, that is absolutely not the case.
No, yeah, I agree with you in that case. Everybody's not equal when it comes down to resources. For sure, I agree with you.
Here's the thing I want to just impart, is that I think that we have a very distorted version of what resiliency and what restorative practice is, because we live in a time where we're seeing so many things happen so fast. So like we've seen technology like advance so fast, right? Like we have seen just our lives shift so fast that I think that we forget that as humans, our ability to recalibrate, to heal from trauma is simply not the same as the things that we are watching in technology. And so we cannot just casually think that people just get over things. Katrina, people in New Orleans are still reeling from Katrina.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
So when we talk about the amount of crime and violence that is still living and happening explicitly in Katrina, we have to also talk about the amount of trauma, the amount of drug use, the amount of policing, the amount of all of these things that physically harm people across the world, not just in the United States, across the world, in communities that are not being served, and how those communities never get the chance to quote unquote pull themselves up by the bootstraps.
Yeah, I agree. I personally agree. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Thanks, Josh.
Before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for powering the fact checks in this video. Straight Arrow News is on a mission to raise the bar on journalism in a time of media bias and mistrust. Straight Arrow News helps you quickly find trusted information you need to understand the news, allowing you to dive deep into the topics that matter to you and the world around you. Their work is trying to break the bias bubble, helping you understand how every side of the political spectrum is reporting on a story, so you get a full picture of the news. That's why we're so happy to be partnering with Straight Arrow News. They deliver the facts, unbiased, balanced, and designed to make sense of a complex world, getting you the clarity you deserve and news you can trust. Go to san.com/surrounded or click the link in the description to check it out. By clicking that link, you're not just supporting this channel. You also take advantage of a better way to get the news. Welcome back to Trustworthy Journalism. Thanks again to Straight Arrow News for partnering with us on this episode. Now, let's get into it.
My next claim is systemic racism isn't a theory. It's our lived reality backed by data and history.
Again, the guy came from behind her and everybody else sat down. They don't really want to start.
I want to listen to you first. Why do you feel that? Why do you feel that way?
John went to debate training before he came here. Okay. Ultimately, I feel that way because it's simply just facts. It's in the books, and that's why there have been laws to challenge it. There have been innumerable instances where actual systems were created specifically for the impediment of Black people to advance. We have also seen numerous instances where there were things created for Black people to advance, and they were taken back under the auspices of, we don't want them to advance. Ultimately, systemic racism exists in our institutions on a government level, in our institutions, whether it's prisons or schools, and it is undeniable because they are actively trying to reinstate it right now.
Can you give me an example of one of those systems that you believe perpetuates that cycle of racism?
Redlining.
Redlining? Okay.
Yes.
And how does that, like, can you elaborate? Like, how is that affecting the Black community?
Do you know what redlining is?
I know a little bit. I'm not an expert.
Redlining was a system that was created to determine property values, and that said Black people can only live in certain neighborhoods and not in other neighborhoods. And the redlining lowered the property values of those Black neighborhoods by stating that they were more savage, that they were more dangerous, etc. Thus, they were not able to own property that was on a level of par to their white counterparts. There were also many efforts at just simply not allowing Black people to get loans for property, putting them in predatory scenarios where they were being essentially unable to own land. And that inability to own land, but still having to pay out a mortgage, if you will, or a rent, continued to put Black people in a conundrum of not being able to excel at the same economic rate as their white counterparts.
What I'm hearing from you, if I'm hearing correctly, is it feels like in the United States that for a while we kind of established these systems at their foundation, and they've continued on, and they've continually just oppressed Black people, and we haven't dismantled them, and we haven't done much to them, so they continue to complete the cycle. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Well, in many of these systems, they have been dismantled maybe in name, but because this country has never dismantled the culture of racism, they end up still living in practice. So we see that, for instance, in the way that the appraisal system works. Now, we saw there was an entire documentary on how appraisals have been also very racist, home appraisals, right? So your ability to sell your house for the value that it deserves. Right. There were a number of homes, particularly in Marin County, California, where Black people...
Okay, and this plays directly into what... Oh, yeah, Palaver, I'm glad you're here. I'm going to remove this wrench from you, darling. There you go. Next time you pop, you won't have your wrench. I love you. And thanks for helping me out that day. But what she's saying right now directly plays into what Callie's point was about financial insecurities. Financially stable people do not worry about running around. She said financially stable people don't worry about running around committing crimes. A lot of the wealth, the generational wealth that was built in this country and passed down from generation to generation was based off of real estate and owned land particularly. Because as America has grown to its standing, everybody knows that real estate is a real currency. The dollar goes up and down, cryptocurrency here today, gone tomorrow. But if you have yourself some land in America, then you're good to go, buddy. Just make yourself an apple pie and you're sitting on the dream. Okay, so that was what was told. But we've already well established with facts that when Black people did have communities and currently have communities, Flint, Michigan, that's a community of Black homeowners, and their water supply is killing them. But they don't work at the city to be able to control the water that's poisoning their entire generations. But Black people you probably find a way for Black people to be in charge of that too. Oh, well, they just need to go dig a well in the backyard. That's what I would have done. I would have went and dug a well in the backyard. If it's such a big deal to not have lead in my water and you don't like what the damn city's giving to you, you ungratefuls. You don't like that damn lead-based city water. Damn ungrateful. I tell you about you uppity ones. I mean, what's wrong with just drinking the lead water? It's wet. That's what we're up against, people. But the system that allows that water to be fucking poison, the system that allows that water to be poison in that specific neighborhood, because there's lots of other cities in Michigan that their water's fine. Oh, imagine that. I'm not sure how that reservoir got poisoned, but this one over here, it's not poisoned. That's a head scratcher. 1 + 1 is 2. 1 × 1 is 1. Carry the 1. Bullshit. So it's the system overall. And like I said earlier, the side effects of the system is the redlining. Once you have the redlining in place, or you do or if you did let them buy some houses, then they came through with emancipation. eminent domain, and they decided they needed to put a freeway through there. And then never put the freeway through, but moved everybody out. That happened to Latinos in San Francisco also. I mean, in Los Angeles way back when too, when they used to wear the zoot suits and everything. I'm retwisting my hair. So it's really interesting that we can have all of these facts about why black people, why your grandma and your grandpa didn't have a house to leave you. And, you know, a conservative mind might say, oh, well, that's because your grandma and your grandpa weren't fiscally responsible. But we did just see over the weekend that a black man in insert state, whose $800,000 house he owns outright. And the city got it in their mind that they wanted to take that black man's house. So what they do, they made up an imaginary water bill. His water never got cut off for non-payment. He never got a red envelope that said, boy, if you don't pay this water bill, then we just gonna come take your house. He never got that. No, but what the city did was they made up a fake water bill, let his house water stay on because your water's on if you paid it. But then they allowed his house to be auctioned off from a lien from a past due water bill, but his water was on the whole time, and now he don't own his house. Because the system that allowed that to happen is fucking racist and dumb. Okay, let me see what the people are saying. If the black community did not support hip hop, it wouldn't exist no matter how much they tried to push it. Hi, Palaver. Been listening. This powerful convo. I'm glad I'm analyzing because that's what I do best. Yeah, I like a lot of pontificating in this birdcage. New Orleans have some of the worst poverty. I grew up there. Black on black crime is the domino effect of black people being broke because they were redlined into houses that they devalued. And so when you were a kid, wanted to go to college and you went to go take out a little some extra, take some equity out of the fucking walls, there was no equity. So instead you had to take out a loan, and that loan was at a higher rate because you're black. And then so you didn't have that one thing that they let the other people have. Interesting. There's one thing they let the other people, that they didn't blow up everywhere. I haven't heard of too many white neighborhoods that have been massacred and blown up. Nope. But if you Google black massacres, you can solve your own riddles about why all of these people saying, just do it, pull yourself up, take accountability, all of that stuff. It sounds like gold dripping from your ears. Doesn't it sound so simple? But if you're constantly exhausted from battling a system that wants to oppress you like a thumb on your head, constantly pressing you down, even though you are a glorious being and you are meant to be upright and you're standing in this fucking world. And so the thumb turns into a hand, and the hand turns into an arm, and pretty soon you have a system of white motherfucking supremacy that is only designed to hurt, harm, and hinder anyone with your melanin composite. And if a couple of them go too, it's all right, but you're the main target. Scary shit. It's exhaustingly scary. Black fatigue is a real thing. And when she's talking about the mental health aspect of not even being out of slavery for 450 years that it existed, and then having all of the systems in place, the Jim Crow and all of that stuff, and the schools and the blow ups and the blah blahs, all of that stuff, right? And you still persevere, you still grow, you're still out here doing the do. No matter what, you're trying your best, right? But it's okay if something changes, right? You don't think that you think that it all has to just stay the same? Or is it okay if one or two things change on the hand? Is it okay to chop off the pinky and the ring finger at least and take some fucking pressure off of the system after you see what the system has been doing? It kept your dad out of the house. It kept your mom on the street. It kept your brother from college. Can we take a finger off the system yet? Has it affected your family at all? Or is everything honky-dory, as Kathy Hilton likes to say? I don't know. By the way, I'm not an Amanda Seales fan. But this here, she's hitting some points. Chris. I'm a white man with family and friends that are black. You seem like you don't want to hear what I say because I'm white. I didn't know you was white till you told me just this very second. Did you get the reaction you was looking for? Do I look reacted? Do I look like I care if you're white? Do I? I didn't know till you just told me. You don't even have a profile picture. All I see is a C. And your thought is, I didn't want to hear from you because of something I didn't even fucking know? Let me finish your statement. Other people in here has said similar things to me. You agreed with me too. Yeah, I love you too. I'm still, yeah, I know. You helped me out that day. I appreciate it. Corey, what's good? Gaslighting, you clocking it, exhausting. Oh, I got another one for you. The whole crack era never ever had to happen. They could have just shut the border. All those people who went to jail, all those people who became addicted, part of a plan, part of a plot. They literally went and dropped it off in black neighborhoods only. They didn't go over to Beverly Hills and drop it off at the high school that Shannon Doherty and the 90210 kids went to. No, they didn't drop it off there. They didn't funnel it there. But the system funneled it to a particular place that happened to be full of melanin. Happy Monday, Bianca. Thanks for coming. Love you. Everybody's saying hi. That part. Yeah, right? Let's continue listening. Amanda Seales taking on 20, surrounded by 20 black conservatives. None of them, not a lot of them, have been able, in my opinion, to like just really stick to the point of what she's saying. So, but let's see if they do. Can you smash that like button? Smash the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring my bell. Ring my bell so you can get notified next time I upload a video or go live. Bianca says, Chris, black people are named Chris. Chris Rock, for example. So how would she have even known that you were white? Let's think before we speak. That's a thought. Me and Chris are just playing, though. He's welcome.
Had one appraisal when they had their blackness up, so they had their dashikis hanging, you know.
Hey, Mel. Love you.
They had their Black Good Times poster, but then when they removed all those items and put up white people and a dog in the house and then had their white friends come and pose as the owners of the home, the appraisal was significantly higher. And we have seen that in a number of instances. Now, of course, that is just Marin County, but there are a number of other scenarios where this has been relayed, and that's why there were certain efforts by the Democratic Party to say, okay, well, we're going to try and step in for this.
I actually remember that case, and I watched it with the family, and I thought that was just really just terrible. But the problem I guess I have with systemic racism is, I guess for somebody like me, where my family comes from, the deep south, you probably don't even know it, Aliceville, Alabama. Okay. That's where my grandparents are from. And my grandpa came, if you saw the house that he grew up in, I'm not trying to be funny, it looked like a slave house. It was just, they grew up in poverty. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he was able to go from that and get the highest rank enlisted in the United States Navy, amidst, all these, systems, so to speak, and he was able to buy his own house out in San Diego. He was able to, pass on these things to his son, my dad, and his grandchildren. Now I'm able to get an education. I was able to get my undergrad, my master's, that, the great-great-grandson of enslaved peoples can now say that, educated and can even run for Congress. I don't see how these systems are still in place as they were before. Because before, I would say you do have a little bit of a foothold. You do have some validity there. But I just think these days, when we call it systemic racism, really what we're calling it is those people who may still be in those institutions, those individual people who may actually be racist and hold some racist ideals, who are continuing to perpetuate this. I believe it's those people. So in all reality, the problem is not the systemic racism. The problem is us. The problem starts with those people who are perpetuating these racist ideals. And so I feel like just to attack these systems it's nonsensical.
Who's running the systems?
Like which system? You're talking about
whether it's the prison industrial complex. We're seeing this now with immigration and ICE. We're seeing this also with the effort at not making schools available for equal level of schooling available with the voucher systems that are now allowing tax dollars to allow people to go to segregated schools.
Right.
Who is controlling those systems? So for instance, in Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
So in Tennessee, you have a Senate and a House of Representatives that is largely controlled by white Republicans and that have actively said, we are not going to consider what the people want in our constituencies. We are going to simply just do what we want to do. To the point where they have removed...
So it's only in those states that have largely white legislators or largely white people are controlling the systems? I'm not trying to...
All right, guys, I'm so sorry. You have been voted out. Please return.
He got voted off the island.
Oh, what?
So to go back to your claim, you basically said something about Tennessee and how they said what exactly you said they are not in favor of what their people said, or?
Yeah, Tennessee has actively said, we're not really listening to our constituency. We're not even going to allow them in the gallery when we're voting on certain issues. So for instance, like when it comes to like guns in the classroom, like the constituency very largely said, we do not want guns in the classroom. And they were like, well, we don't care. We're going to do it anyway. We've also seen them actively silence members of the House of Representatives who are black and not silence someone who is doing the exact same action who is a white woman, Gloria. Shout out to the Justins.
You are right, actually, on this aspect. I did actually remember a time where 2 black Democrats, I believe, were actually not allowed to speak. And that was interesting. And I found that really, insane, considering they're representatives of the state.
Yeah.
So, no, I totally can get where you're coming from, but I don't think that's a institutionalized problem where it's a law, per se. I think it's more so a personal vendetta in a way.
What's the difference if you are a lawmaker and you are exacting your personal ability, your personal choice through impediment of law change?
So if we're going to go based on systemic racism, it has to be institutionalized, which means it has to be written into law, made public. When it comes to that aspect, that's not necessarily made public by law, that's made public by choice and actual discrimination by person.
So I can give you an example in Tennessee.
Okay.
So for instance, in Tennessee, we can say that they are put into law that now tax dollars, the public's tax dollars will be supporting voucher systems. The voucher systems for the schools allow parents to choose whatever school they want their child to go to using taxpayer money. And these schools can be private schools. And private schools are not in any way limited from creating systems of segregation. And this is actually how segregated schools was carried out previous to Brown versus Board of Education. So this is a systemic example. We also can acknowledge that systemic examples come from not always it being written into law. And I think that is a real straw man argument for the way that a lot of colorblind racism is carried out in the United States. And what happens when we do that is we ignore the fact that most of the people making the laws are not going to put their racism on the books.
Oh, that's true. Obviously not going to put on the books. But when it comes to the Civil Rights Acts of 1964, then you also want to talk about the one in 1968. They did actually give more fair housing equality.
That was the goal.
Yeah, that's true.
But you see, that's the thing. It's like, that's a difficult part of not changing a culture. You can change the law all day, but as Martin Luther King Jr., as the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. talks about in his final book, he says, I feel like I integrated my people into a burning house because he understood America to be a place of morality.
Well, when it came back to, even back in the 1960s, Lyndon B. Johnson actually proposed many systems in place.
But after that, people still got lynched.
Well, I can't really say that's a systemic problem. That's definitely a personal heart problem. Those are more people's individual choices against someone else. But when
if
it came
the
down
system
to
that's in place does not incarcerate those people or create any repercussions for those actions, then it is systemic.
Well,
because when you don't allow for there to be repercussions for harmful behaviors of the people, you're literally saying our system is okay with this. So that's what Black Lives Matter is about, right? Saying okay, if police are going to act in this way, well, there should at least be fair repercussions across all people that they're doing this to, and they're not carrying out those repercussions for Black people. Why? And so the system is supporting this personal point of view that you're talking about, and that's what makes it also systemic, along with the fact that we know for a fact that the number of Black people incarcerated is greater per capita than white people. We know that Black people are having longer sentences for the same crimes than white people. This is not me making that up. That is actual data.
Right,
so
pause.
Systemic is real.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority.
Voted off the island. So what did you guys think of his thoughts? I don't know. He kind of agreed with her, actually, by the time he said something. It's good to agree in a disagreement. I have my perspective changed and skewed all the time with additional information, or yeah, it's usually just some additional information and research. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe that Democrats are full of shit. Maybe they are just one of the ass cheeks. Maybe Republicans is just one of the ass cheeks. Maybe nothing changes within a system that these dirty ass cheeks get to be in charge of stuff, you know? So there's a lot of different ways that the system has revealed its support of itself at the expense of the people who keep the system going. So that in and of itself makes it systematic. I don't know. It seems simple logic to me, but I don't know. I think 1 times 1 should equal more than 1. Anyway, let's see these comments. I'm letting this play so we can get to some more comments before the next person. Callie Nola says, his grandfather is one individual person. We're talking about the entire Black community. Exactly. We're talking about the entire Black community. And that's what I was saying with the whole ability to pass en masse. That means more so than not. It's not an exception to the rule. It's the rule. Okay. So we have not, as a race, been allowed to pass our shit down generation to generation. And now old boy in the White House is like, oh, there's still some hanging on. Well, let me make a law in January 2026. I'm gonna make it hard for you to get your inherited property from your mom and your dad and your granny and your grandpa. Yeah, we're cooking up something because some of you guys slipped through and you made something happen. Yeah, we got our mighty hand of oppression ready. And so we're going to make a new law. Because, yeah, less government means I need to know exactly when your parents die and if they had any property we can come take so you can't have shit. Because remember what I also just did was I just said that I was going to make it against the law to be homeless. I said just last week I was going to make it against the law to be homeless, and especially if we find out that you have any mental deficiencies on record, we's going to be able to come up and institutionalize you, because we need free labor, but we's going to be able to institutionalize you. And what better way to ensure that we have some homeless people, especially if they ain't got no home to inherit. Okay, are you guys following the logic? The voices in my head make it so obvious what's going on. Didn't get it. I read back Chris' comment. It's okay, you're white. Largest sometimes ignores non-whites too. I do. I ignore a lot of people. There have always been individual Black people who have had money ever since recorded history. Yeah, there's about to be a movie about Sarah. The richest girl in the nation was a little Black girl. And then what happened? She got colonized and they eminent domained her property. That was one of the first eminent domains of the history recorded records. Okay? And they came and took that girl's property because it was chock full of that Black gold. That oil was in her soil. They had to come get it from her because she was Black. Okay? There's a whole movie coming out about it. If you didn't know about Sarah. Mel says, Curves, have a great Monday. Yes, Mel, you too. Happy Monday. Yes, happy Monday to everybody. Oh, look, Green Eyes finally got a chance. Let me see. Turn this back.
I can't really say that's a systemic problem. That's definitely a personal heart problem. Those are more people's individual choices against someone else. But when
if
it came down to...
the system that's in place does not incarcerate those people or create any repercussions for those actions, then it is systemic. Because when you don't allow for there to be repercussions for harmful behaviors of the people, you're literally saying our system is okay with this. So that's what Black Lives Matter is about, right? Saying like, okay, if police are going to act in this way, well, there should at least be fair repercussions across all people that they're doing this to, and they're not carrying out those repercussions for Black people. Why? And so the system is supporting this personal point of view that you're talking about. And that's what makes it also systemic, along with the fact that we know for a fact that the number of black people incarcerated is greater per capita than white people. We know that black people are having longer sentences for the same crimes than white people. It's not me making that up. Like, that is actual data.
Right.
So
Pause.
systemic is real.
Pause. You've been voted off as the
Pause.
Thank you.
Got voted off. He's jetting up there. Finally.
Amanda,
Ryan,
nice to meet you. Thanks for being here. All right. Well, what I would say is, as far as systematic racism, right? I think most of us would agree that at the very least it has occurred in this country.
Okay.
Right? You know, we've had slavery, we've had Jim Crow segregation, all these different things.
Yeah.
I think my argument would be that right now in modern America, I don't think, at the very least, it's not as prevalent as it has been to where it could stop us from being successful. Okay. I would say that it's not a thing anymore where it needs to be talked about so much and so much attention focused on it. I don't think that currently there is systematic racism in a way that it's going to be harmful to us. You know, like I said, to stop us. If anything, really, I think institutions such as things with DEI.
What do you think DEI is?
Basically, I think that it's in a way it's racism against other races outside of blacks. And so,
Where did you get that concept of it from?
I've researched a lot of things. I look at different steps from both sides of the argument, things like that. But basically, my point is, I think that as far as systematic racism, I think that there's evidence from the other side in that there's different things that are pushing black people up in ways that are not fair, and different things like that. Because I think that we should be merit-based. I think that should always be merit-based, and when we're in, you know, when there's jobs and different things like that, race should not be something that's considered. And so, I think that, let's say that there are ways right now where systematic racism is still alive. Again, it's not holding us back to a point where we can still be successful. We've seen so many examples, you know, today in modern times where black Americans can, you know, there's no opportunities that I have that a white person or that a white person has that I don't have. I believe that all
Are you
opportunities.
sure about that? Can you actually say that?
I would say that I have every opportunity in this country to be successful, to do what I want to do, and to stand on business that every other race has. Absolutely. And
do you have the same support?
Even if I don't have the same support, I can do what I got to do.
Do you have the same support?
I probably have more. I
Do you
have
have the
more
same
support than
community
others.
support?
Excellent community support.
That's
Absolutely.
lucky for you.
Sure.
Yeah. Where did you grow up in a lower income, middle income, high income community?
It was middle income.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I think that even those who grew up in very needy situations, right, they may not have been dealt a great hand of cards.
But they still.
They can still, you know, I think it comes down to accountability. You can still play your hand, play your cards strategically in a way where you can still be successful, you can still do your thing, and you can wind up on top. And there's nothing stopping them from doing that.
Would you say that low-income white people and low-income black people have the same ability to excel?
I would say they have the same ability to excel.
Okay, so I'm going to start countering from that point then. So ultimately, we know that our low-income communities are not given the same access to resources on a myriad of levels. They don't even have the same air quality, okay? We know that low-income communities in general are also going to be much more policed than other communities. We know that policing as it exists in the United States came from slave catching. So even the tradition of policing comes from protecting property, not protecting people, okay? So let's start there. When we talk about low-income, like the working class black people in this nation, we know that they have never been considered, ever, whether they were slaves or not. They just weren't considered. And we also know, as our brother Isaiah pointed out, that there are still people in very powerful positions that hold very personal positions as it relates to racism. And so in that way, they are impediments to someone moving forward. When we talk about DEI, the concept of DEI is not about lowering the standard. It's about widening the options. So we live in a nation that I feel like a lot of y'all are looking at the United States.
He's about to get voted off.
Long history of something. We have a short history. All right, for 400 years, there was slavery. Black people were not even considered whole humans. We were 3/5 human. After the Civil War, during Reconstruction, black people were then subjected to the black laws. The black laws were specifically for black people. The black laws incarcerated black people at such an exorbitant rate that they were able to get another slave labor force through the 13th Amendment because you had black people that were serving entire life, like months-long, years-long cases, years-long sentences for jaywalking.
Okay.
So when we look at these things, we act as if, well, why can't we just get over that? That's 2 generations previous, okay? So if a father in the early 1900s was incarcerated for 2 years, how do you think that would impede their family from being able to grow, right?
Sure.
Now you're affecting the ability for their children to have 2 parents in the home. You also now have a mother who's like incredibly stressed and may have to always be working, so she's not even able to parent, etc. We also know that there is a continued effort in this nation to not have black people know the history of this nation. Like our good sis here was talking about, like, we have resilience, but this nation actively works systemically to keep that from us, right? We look in Florida at the laws that they are passing to not allow education about our past. And we know that if we don't know where we came from, how can we know where we're going?
Sure, okay.
All right, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's flags.
Yeah.
He's off. Okay. I feel like she was making some points. Unfortunately, I saw that happening with the homeless because a lot of them were refusing assistance here. And you're in California, and I know Gav was making a lot of stuff available to homeless people, a lot of resources have been available. So yeah, that's unfortunate. But there's a lot of mental health aspects too that need to be addressed.
Hi, okay.
We cool now?
We good. We good. I think we're on the same. We're kind of looking at the same side of the same coin, and I think because we both want the betterment of the Black community, and I think we're maybe coming from it from different ways. And so I do respect your position to what you were saying as well. That there are certain things and powers at play, and I've experienced racism firsthand. A lot of conservatives may try to act like, oh, there's no racism in America. I absolutely believe there is racism in America. I believe racism.
Hey,
I
Mamere.
just don't think that the systems as they stand today are inherently racist because I've seen too many Black people overcome, and I just feel like a lot of times what's left out of the dialogue is self-accountability and like self-will. We talked about how we were 3/5 of a person, but now we are 100%, I guess, according to the law or whatever, a person. And I feel like at the end of the day, if you wanted to walk out here right now and decide, you know what, I want to change my career, I want to do that, you can. And that's why so many people, and Nigerians come here, and Indians come here, and so many people who are not white, who are supposed to be discriminated against because they're not white, they come here and they become doctors and lawyers. Why? Because to your point, there's community. There's a sense of pride about, you know what, I got to go honor my parents back in Nigeria. I'm part Nigerian. I have to go honor my parents. I have to go honor my elders. They're not twerking and shaking booty. They're getting sick.
They are literally twerking and shaking booty.
Well, the Nigerians I know ain't doing it. If they are twerking,
literally
they're
learned it
doctors.
from Africa.
They're doctors twerking and shaking booty. So maybe they can shake
Africa.
because they got the money to back it up. But do you see what you're saying? But do you see what I'm saying though? We have to be honest, Amanda.
Well, as a fellow daughter of an immigrant, right? So my mother's from Grenada. My mother did come here and was able to work and was able to get green cards for folks. So shout out to my mom. There's a very big difference in growing up somewhere and coming from a place where you are the majority and where your people are running the show than being somewhere where your people have been subjugated the entire time your people have been.
But your mama came here. She wasn't the majority. So how did she succeed?
She succeeded because she came here with the fortitude of coming from a place.
Her resilience, right?
No, but
And she had her
let me
village.
say what I'm saying.
Okay, I'll let you impart.
If we don't acknowledge divide and conquer in the United States, we are having a pointless conversation.
I agree.
We have to acknowledge that there is a concerted effort at divide and conquer in the United States. We're literally watching it happen right now with an effort to divide and conquer and have Black people fighting immigrants and have Black people saying that immigrants don't matter.
So fighting white people.
White people is not the point. The concept of white people is about people who are upholding a supremacy of whiteness versus people who understand that there should be an egalitarianism. There should be an equality.
We are becoming the new white supremacists.
We are. We feel like we can't do anything. No, it's not that we're putting them on, it's not that we're putting them on a pedestal. It's that we are joining them and instead weaponizing our Blackness against our people. When we do what you're saying, we are saying, I am better because I figured it out, and so you're the problem because you didn't figure it out.
But what about if I believe that the American dream is, I have a right to that as well? Is that me joining white people, or is that me saying, you know what, I want to like the American dream for me, because it may look different from other people. Some people it's a boss shake. For me, I want my kids to grow up in a wonderful neighborhood. I want them to go to college. I want.
I forgot to do a copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, fair use is made for commenting, research, and criticism. And we are doing commenting, researching, and criticism right now during this debate on Surrounded, and it's over here on Jubilee. You guys be sure to go and check it out for yourself. Thanks for being here. Smash that like button, smash the subscribe button. Thanks for coming to LRGA Curves.
To have a 401k, I want to do this, I want to do that. So I feel like a lot of times in the Black community, we associate anything that's right or that's just or that's striving forward with whiteness. So when you say that we're working with
whiteness, it's capitalism. And I think that's what we have to understand the difference of. The concept of capitalism always is grounded in exploitation.
But so I'm sitting here benefiting from capitalism, and you know that because you would.
I understand that we are benefiting. I understand that we are benefiting from capitalism, but I also understand that we would have other people and a majority of people benefit if we were not solely capitalist. That is what it means to be a Black radical. Is to understand that I can benefit as well as others.
So, Amanda, what is your solution then? Because we know that capitalism benefits us, and people are coming here every day.
Is what I continue to say. We need to have coalition building across cultural differences, across ethnicities, across classes.
And that includes collaborating with white people.
I've never said it didn't. But this obsession with white people fails to acknowledge the fact that there are people who benefit from white supremacy.
But we live in America,
let me finish my point. There are people who benefit from white supremacy that do not identify themselves as white. They don't consider that to be the most important element of their identity, because they understand that at the end of the day, we need to see each other as humans that all deserve a right to exist. We all deserve a right to exist, and I shouldn't have to earn my right to exist. And that is what capitalism does.
You have to earn it. That's
what this nation is. You do have to earn it. You do. Yes, you do. That is why we are criminalizing the poor. We are criminalizing the poor on a regular basis. How so? Because we're not even allowing for a wage to happen to allow people to get out of poverty. We are seeing inflation grow.
We don't have people in our family that have done it, so we can't.
No, we have not had people that are done it. My mother came to America with an entire nursing degree. I can't say, oh, well, my mother did it, why can't you? Because my mother
was pregnant at 19 from the south side of Chicago with no degree and still made
good for your mom. But this is the thing.
So we can't do it.
It's not. The question isn't whether or not some people can do it. The question and the reality is that it is not available to everyone in an equal way.
And that's unfortunate, but you know we live in a broken society. I went to Nigeria and they're having the same problems as a Black people that are
in Nigeria. But
it's the same thing in Nigeria.
Nigeria is a broken society. Burkina Faso is not. Burkina Faso is not.
That's time.
is black conservatism fails to meet the needs of the working class.
I don't think I really heard a clear point for either of those. Let's see, any more comments? No, just my copyright disclaimer. Right on. Thanks for being here, everybody.
And okay, talk to me.
So I think black conservatives, we're the ones who really want the best for working people. I think we're the ones, like a lot of the liberals, a lot of the leftists, wanted to do things like office work. They wanted to go reparations, try to get things from the government and get handouts. We say, hey, go out there and work. Go out there and get these jobs that are available. Work with your hands. Do skilled trades. That's where a lot of us talk about, skilled trades. So working class, that's really a black conservative thing, in my humble opinion.
I would beg to disagree. I think that would be true if black conservatism also created pathways for people to get those jobs and also to be able to challenge the corporations that are using their labor, that are stealing from them and not impeding them from having a union. So for instance, like in the South, right? I just left North Carolina where I met with the USSW, the Union of Southern Service Workers. This is an unofficial union of individuals who work at places like Waffle House, at Food Lion, etc. And their unofficial union is unofficial because the conservatives in that state will not allow for them to be officialized.
Legitimized.
Legitimized.
There you go. I got you.
It will not allow for them to be legitimized because then they would be able to push back legitimately on the corporations to get fair wages, right? So like someone was telling me in this organization that she was in Baltimore getting $15.25 as a minimum wage, and then when she moved just one state away, she was now only getting $7.25 for minimum wage, but the cost of living was the same for her. So when we talk about, the effort of saying go out and get these jobs and get these trades, etc., I think that is valid, but I think that the impediments by leveling up corporations and by pouring into the effort of corporations to keep billionaires, as black conservatives, you are actually cutting off the ability for those people to excel.
Okay, I understand your point, but a lot of us are more about being self-sufficient. So the South, a friend of mine down there, King Randall, has a school for boys. He's 22 years old. He has a bunch of kids living with him. He's teaching them physical skills they can do. Okay, being a mechanic, working on your car, working on your house, doing things with your hands. So you don't got to worry about corporations. You could be your own man. You could be your own woman. And also, didn't you also say earlier that you're against unions? But are you
No, I never said that.
Also, you're for unions?
Absolutely.
So when the unions keep black folks out, you're for that as well? Because that's traditionally what they've done, keep black folks out, correct?
Obviously, I am not for that. The reality is that unions have definitely in the beginning kept black folks out. And the reason why they were keeping black folks out is because after the Civil War, when there was Reconstruction, you had all these black people that had been used for free labor and they had skills, right? Whether they were a blacksmith or a carpenter or whatever. However, they could not get jobs because the white people who now had to fend for themselves, if you will, because they didn't have slaves, they had to go and learn all these trades.
Right.
And so they actively kept black people out of those jobs. And then what they would do is that when they would, as a union, say, we're going on strike, the black people would be like, well, we'll work, because they will let us in their union anyway. And then when they would go and actually get those jobs that the people were on strike for, they would hang them. They would lynch them. So yes, these are real things that have taken place. But we keep having these conversations where we acknowledge the past when it's convenient, and then we only say in the present when it's convenient. So you can't simultaneously say, well, everybody's fine now and there's no systemic racism, at the same time as stating that there are unions that are racist and unions that aren't racist. Ultimately, there is racism in the United States. It is deeply embedded. We have seen it in a myriad of examples, even just yesterday or today. And black conservatives are working against the working class because they are actively placing their vision, their ideology of black excellence in economics solely.
Well, there is racism
And in individual economics.
Okay.
And I think that's really the big difference of
Okay.
what we're talking about right now. You're talking about every man for themselves. Every man for themselves.
No, I don't say that.
Oh, you don't say that?
I say that we have to be individual as people, as black people, but
Yes.
still get all of us on the same page. My friend at school, he's not just looking out for himself, looking out for all these kids as well. So it's like, okay, I bring myself up and then bring everybody else up, rather than relying upon the corporations and white people to lift this up. That's where we come
So
from.
I think there's a difference between relying on and acknowledging that there are impediments of. And I want to acknowledge the reality that we keep seeming to bump up against, which is that everybody has equal ability, and they don't. Everybody doesn't have the same impediments. So, for instance, I grew up with a single parent, not because...
Me too.
I grew up with
Same.
a single parent, not because my father was some deadbeat that didn't have... My father has a MD from Harvard. My father has an MBA from Tufts.
But that was a firefighter, so working class, conservative.
He just didn't want to be a parent. So when we talk about this whole idea of like, oh, the blacks that are, not doing the thing, it's not about necessarily what class you're in. It's literally just about we live in a nation that gives the option of, I don't want to be a parent. We live in a nation that gives the option of, I don't need to be in cooperation with our community. And as far as I'm concerned, black conservatives do not address the needs of the working class, which are fair access to resources, which are equal access to getting jobs, which are equal pay to the same access as others. And we
Equal to who?
Equal to other states even. Like there's no reality where you can say that the same amount of white people are working low-wage jobs per capita as black people. A lot of the reason is because there's such a disparate incarceration of black people that it impedes their ability to get higher level education as well as higher level employment because we know about disenfranchisement.
All right, there you go.
Okay, that was a point. That was a point. Gonna keep it going.
Hi,
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I would actually argue that the black working class is failing themselves. Wouldn't you agree that, in order to get a job, in order to qualify for a certain position and an education system at a job, wouldn't you argue that it should be based off of qualifications and not your race or identity?
I've never argued that. I've never argued that.
Well,
That's not
I
the
know
case.
that you were saying that you would argue that it should be equal, right? So you're saying that there should be black Americans in education systems, in jobs, but wouldn't you argue that they should be qualified for those positions and not just placed there because of their skin color?
I've never disproved that.
Okay, so let's
That's
say...
not what DEI is.
Okay.
Do you know that?
Well, I'm not talking about DEI right
Oh.
now. Well,
Because you're suggesting that I suggested that somebody should get a job just because they're black. And I've never asserted anything like that.
I understand that you may not say that exactly, but a
No,
lot
I
of
didn't say
things
that at
are, they're pointing to that.
No, it's not pointing to that. And so that is that I need to clear this up because
Okay.
it's a really important point.
Okay.
We live in a nation that has actively pedestaled white people. Can we all agree on that? That we
In
no,
the past,
we can't.
in the
Okay,
past,
in the
but
past,
not currently,
in the past.
but not currently.
So, okay, fair.
Okay.
Okay, so how many black people are part of this administration's cabinet?
I'm not sure. Can you tell me? Can you fill me in?
Zero.
Oh.
Who?
So it seems like there may be a
That's
couple.
not a cabinet.
I don't know.
Scott Turner.
Okay.
Okay.
So
So we got two.
So there are.
So we got two.
Can we also,
We got two. So back to your point. DEI is about expanding.
Oh yes. Okay.
Not lowering credibility.
Okay.
So if we have a system that has very actively said these particular people are the best people
Okay.
simply because of their race, DEI said, or their gender,
Okay.
because DEI mostly leveled up white women.
Okay. So it would be incorrect if it's if we're pointing toward this a majority of race is qualified because of the skin, the base of the skin.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether they're
Okay.
white, black.
Okay,
I mean, race
great.
is fake anyway.
Now, I do want to touch on a point that you did mention earlier, that you would argue that, black people have less opportunities in America. I do not agree with that. I have not had,
First of all,
a
you're a light-skinned
problem.
woman.
And so are you.
Yes.
And you're doing
so
great for
colorism,
yourself.
Yes, and so colorism really does
but
serve us.
I do want to say, why do you think that is, though? Why do you think that? Do you think it's just based off the color of our skin, or do you think it's based off of the reputation that black people make for themselves?
What reputation are black people making for
What
themselves?
would you argue? Because when I look at
who makes
well,
the
let's
reputation for black
let's
people?
look at music, for example.
We already had this conversation with somebody else.
Well, we're gonna have it again. Most of the people that
are we?
Most of the people.
I'm going to shut it
most
down
of
right
the
now and
black
let you know that the reality is that when you come to black music, for you to say most of the people, you've already lost the argument.
Am I right?
There is no most of the people with black
Most
people
of-
because you haven't heard of all of black
most
music.
of most
so
of,
let's
but
start
most
there.
of the music that is, let's say, maybe exalted or shown by the media, right?
And who controls those systems?
It defiles
And
black
who
Americans.
controls
Well,
those
but who's
systems?
putting it out there?
Kanye West told us who controls those systems. Kanye West told us who controls those systems. And you can roll that beautiful beam footage if you need to.
We're the ones
actually,
putting
the
it out there.
distribution systems that are putting them out there are owned by white people.
Who listens to them? Because
I
I
don't
can
know.
bet you, most of my friends, my black friends that are not conservative, they listen to that music that defiles
You know who
their
else?
body.
You know
that
who
talks
else
about
listens to that
black on
music?
black crime, and
Everybody
it's a good
else.
thing.
But if
Am
we
I
don't
right?
acknowledge that they are not in the same way pursuing white voices talking about the same thing, even though they are, we simply like to start at the branches of a tree and not at the root. We have to understand that the media is king. Okay, media is king,
and media does not favor conservatism. I can tell you that right now. I mean, look at the protests right now in Los Angeles.
Depending on who is in office, media does favor them.
I mean, we have Trump in office right now, and media is not favoring Trump at all.
Media is absolutely not favoring Trump in certain spaces because Trump is also not favoring that particular type of media. But it depends on the day, and we have to acknowledge that regardless of whether you talk conservatism or not, media has never favored black people at any point.
All right, guys, that's time. You've been voted out.
Thank you.
Been voted off the island. You get voted off. It's time to go, darling. Pack your bags.
Back. So let's talk about facts. I just want to move back to systemic racism because you mentioned systemic racism earlier. I just want to look at 3 applications of systemic racism against white people and against East Asians as well. So for example, we have the National College Attainment Network, which defines affirmative action or even race-conscious admissions as taking race as one of the factors in whether or not you're going to admit a student. And we noticed that when race-conscious admissions was out of it, black enrollment dropped 64% at UC Berkeley. And that is an act of systemic racism. Trying to look at people's races and allow them into colleges whether or not they're of a set race is racism. And it's race-conscious. And Martin Luther King's most famous quote is that he doesn't want his children to be judged based on race, but by the content of their character, and the content of people's characters also includes merit. We have another example of systemic racism. Burgess Owens, he's a representative out of Utah. He's a black Republican representative. He called out the MIT president for having black-only dormitories. I mean, what does that mean? Why are we trying to segregate each other and say that black people feel safer amongst black people? And the truth is, they're actually more in danger when they're around black people. And that's unfortunate. It's sad that...
I'm going to have to push back on his argument right now. One of the reasons why black people want to be around other black people is so that white people aren't around to call the police on them for fake shit and get shot by the police. So that could be one thing. And what's wrong with black people saying they feel safer around other black people in certain environments, especially college dormitories? I don't see anything wrong with that. If a whole police officer can say he feared for his life while a person's hands were up and they were walking away from them, or when they were like running away from them for in fear of their life because the person with the pow is running after them, hunting them down. And if nobody says anything, everybody's like, just like, oh, well, he said he was scared for his life. Let's listen to that bullshit. But then when a black person says, oh, I feel safer around my people, without even having to identify any particular thing, it's a problem. This is lunacy. This whole fucking world is a lunatic right now.
I'm saying this, but it's the case, and I have to say it because it's true, okay? Black people are killing each other at a vast, crazy rate. Black men rapping about it. It's savagery, it's barbaric, and we shouldn't be doing it as a people. We should try to get more Ben Carson's. Ben Carson's cousins were murdered when he was younger, but his mother came to him and gave him a book and told Ben Carson to read and study so to not be like his cousins. And Ben Carson separated two twins at the back of the head. He's known as one of the best renowned neurologists or neuroscientists that we've ever seen, right?
Ben Carson said that slaves were immigrants.
Well, they were brought here to the United States, and many of them were slaves, and we know that to be a fact.
What is the difference between someone being an immigrant and being a stolen person?
I mean, I understand that many people were stolen here, but 90% of historians agree that slavery would have not been possible if black slave owners within Africa didn't sell off their people. White people didn't show up and just start stealing people. They didn't do that. That's not how that works.
They literally did that.
But they didn't. They worked with black owners and black Arabs.
They literally did that. And Arabs did that as well. And I think it's very important. And I think it's important to note that there is an oversimplification of history as well as of black people in Africa. There's a failure to acknowledge that in Africa, black people did not consider themselves black people. That was a racial distinction that was solely created by white oppressors to legitimize slavery.
Arab oppressors, actually, because the Arabs did it in the 7th century. They were the first ones.
They did not name it under blackness. They simply just decided we're going to go and have enslavers. This was a decision that was actualized and then tried to be pushed forward through eugenics. Literally, there was an executive order that was passed a few months ago that said that Donald Trump wants to now control the museums because he wants to take back control of the narrative around race. And in one of these museums that they cited was that there was a display that speaks about race not as a biological thing, but as something that has just been created as a social construct. And he stated that that is an incorrect expression of race, that race is biological.
But it is biological. Like, let's look at our phenotypical traits, the nose differences, the hair texture. It's a biological thing. Sure, there's a social concept there, but there's biological differences.
Sir, you're very convicted in your lack of information around these things. Race and ethnicity are two different things, okay? Ethnicity is where you're from. Race is literally something that was created to put people into categories of caste, to put people into categories of oppression. Race is not something that you are. Race is something that was bestowed and put upon you.
That's racism, not race. Race is
simply race is literally something that was created and put upon you. And I want you to listen to me as somebody who has studied this, who has a master's in African American Studies from the Institute for Research in African American Studies at Columbia University. I want you to understand very clearly that race is not something that is biological. There is literally there is many differences that are equated to ours that have nothing to do with race.
It's an ethnic.
So if you have a black parent and you have a white parent, and now you come out looking white, how is that a biological proof of your race?
Most of them
There's
come
no
out
most of them.
having
Stop. There's no most of them. You do not have anything to do with that.
You're mixed race too.
I am not mixed race. My mother is black and my father is black.
Well, my father is also considered black, but he's very much has a lot of European DNA.
You know what I think? I think that you are at a phase of your learning where you are a contrarian, and I look forward to seeing your development because I have a feeling that you're actually going to flip the script eventually because you are somebody that definitely is grounded in wanting to learn facts and wanting to learn the truths of things. However, you're currently still stuck in an indoctrinated space that is tricking you into thinking that you are something that you are not. You are a black person who is literally having to receive the results of racism, but ultimately you are of an ethnicity that has thrived in spite of it. And that is where we really exist from. And that is where our resilience comes from in spite of systemic racism.
I think our resilience is happening now. I think growing, understanding the real problems, not going out and trying to protest against. You guys don't ever do this. KTS.
You guys don't ever do that. Who is you guys?
Members of the black community don't want to hold people accountable, especially black people. So KTS was shot 60 times outside of Cook County, Chicago. How many BLM members came out? You guys earlier said BLM
Stop
is
referring to me as you guys.
Okay, fine. So, for example, we had a really good example of this, where it's not a police, because I remember you
said...
Where are you from? Where am I from? What do you mean by that? Like, what state am I from? Where was I born?
Where do you live right now?
I live in Florida. I was born in Angola, though. I was born in sub-Saharan Africa, okay?
Where did you grow up for most of your time?
In Maine. I lived in North America.
In Maine?
Yes.
And what is the population of black people in the town that you're from?
It's really extremely low, but I grew up around black people, and there was a black community where I lived.
And that black community that you lived in, Did they teach you about Black history in the United States? Like, are your parents Black American?
Yeah, my mom is Black. My father's Black.
No, I'm asking, were they born in the United States?
No, because I wasn't born there.
Oh, so you guys are all from Angola?
Yes, but again, like I told you earlier, right? In terms of people like KTSA that were shot, BLM doesn't come out for them. And I remember you earlier said, hold on, can I finish? You earlier said that BLM is worried about police, but when Daniel Penny choked out the man that we all know was causing violence on that subway train.
He was not causing violence.
He was
causing disruption is not causing violence.
Yeah, causing disruption, talking shit isn't necessarily being violent. I agree. And it's not a reason to die. Oh, please, God, don't let it be a reason to die.
Threatening people.
Causing disruption is not causing violence.
And the people there helped them also. And you know that he helped them.
I don't know what that has to do with BLM. Random people on a train is not Black Lives Matter.
BLM showed up for that.
Showed up for what?
BLM showed up threatening white people, saying that they were going to kill people.
No, they didn't. BLM protested.
BLM New York.
BLM protested. Where did you get that from? You see, your sources are not. You're not able to cite your sources. Please go sit down.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Go sit down.
It's not. Nothing you say is actually the truth. Nothing. You're not even American. You're not even a Black American. As the daughter of an immigrant, it is imperative that Black people from other places understand the disparate difference that they exist from Black people in the United States. It is not the same, period. And ultimately, the best effort that we can do as a diaspora is to lead in understanding, not in judgment. So when I am talking to somebody from Sudan, from the Congo, from Angola, I am listening to understand their experience, not to undermine it. And I refuse to allow anybody from Grenada, from Angola, from any other place to come and try to undermine the experience of Black Americans.
Okay.
Who feels passionately about something that they want to talk to me about? I choose John Samuel because I like his facial hair and dashiki pairing. I feel like he's going to sing a mean R&B.
My claim is that Black people as a community need to walk away from the Democratic Party and progressivism completely. I'm saying this from a very unique perspective. I'm not trying to shout myself or anything. This is really just my experience. Currently, I'm running for Congress, right? And one of the biggest hurdles I have in doing that is the Black community. It's because they expect us to be in this box.
What's the box?
The box would be, okay, you're Black, so you got to be a Democrat. You got to think this way. You have to have this view on this matter.
No, you got to tell me think what way.
Like,
I really want to understand.
So let's take immigration. That's a hot button issue right now, especially in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
My view is that you should come here the legal way, and that if you don't come here the legal way, you are subject to the laws of the country. But I also feel that if you're...
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying is that a lot of people, especially where I'm from San Diego, would like to put Black conservatives in this box. And the reason why I say specifically in my claim that Black people need to walk away from the Democratic Party is because every single election cycle, all they do is use us as their tokens. They use us as their kind of election tools. They use us as these campaign posters. They tell us to come to their rallies. They tell us to sing on their stages. They tell us to do all these things, and they forget about us 3 other years, and they remember us 4 years later. Every single cycle, it happens again and again. And I'm one of the people, like, I really appreciate you because it seems like you have love for the Black community and you have a love for people, and I appreciate that. And I do too, because I don't express that in the same way as, let's say, as a Black person who's a member of the Democratic Party. I get called Uncle Tom, I get called a racist, I hate myself, I love myself, and I love our people. I love everything about us. We have done so much for the country. We built this table that everyone is seated at, or we deserve rights, we deserve all these things. However, what I don't like more than anything, is being used. It's being used by politicians, being used by governments as some type of puppet to say, here's my Black person that's voting for me. I don't like that. And it makes me sad no matter you're Democrat, Independent, Green Party, whatever. Yes, yeah, sorry.
I completely agree. I would add to that it's no different with the Conservative Party. That there is 1,000% a use of Black people to weaponize a concerted effort to literally, quote unquote, make America great again. The concept of make America great again did not start with Donald Trump. It started with Ronald Reagan, and it happened right after the Civil Rights Movement. There was a very strong, visceral response by white people after the Civil Rights Movement, after the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Fair Housing Act of 1969, the Economic Opportunity Act of 1965. These were all efforts that were put in place on a federal level to say, okay, fine, we're going to give you a little bit of something to get your weight up. After that, there was a active effort made by conservatives, because that's also when we saw the flip between the Democratic and Republican parties. There was a flip. That's actively what happened. There was a flip. And
Since
we saw
Reconstruction, Democratic Party has been the party of slavery, the party of racism.
there was a flip because the Democrats were more aligned with making these civil rights concessions than the Republicans. That's the flip. Ultimately, though, the flip is what people are misappropriating because the flip isn't a 180. Okay? If the flip is literally just we was this and now we this. And that is not the same as we are for black people. The Democratic Party is not for black people, nor is the Republican Party. Any nation that has a bipartisan system.
Two cheeks, same ass. Two cheeks, same ass alert.
That doesn't even allow for its own people to determine who are going to be the candidates for president isn't for its people in general, beyond blackness. So it's imperative that we begin to truly understand the systems at work in this government that not only hinder us as black people, but they hinder anyone who wants to see change because they are ultimately working together. Now, do we see one party activating higher levels of discrimination than others? Yes. Do we see one party that is more violent per se than others? Yes, and we can say this on many different levels. But when it comes to like enacting genocide or destabilizing other nations, we know that that happens on an American level, regardless, okay? I completely agree that the idea that you have to act a certain way as a black person is really problematic because the Democrats and the Republicans, neither of them actually care about black people. And when we talk about conservatism or we talk about being a liberal, neither of these aspects were grounded in how do we help to repair the harm that we have caused an entire group of people who made it possible for us to even have a constitution. So you can sit here and show me whatever you want.
No. The only reason I was going to show you this is because
even with that constitution, we weren't even humans.
What?
When they wrote it.
So that was another fact check I wanted to kind of fact check before, but I couldn't say anything. But the 3/5 compromise had nothing to do with you're 3/5 of a person. The 3/5 compromise had to do with representation in Congress. So there's a little note here if you open this.
The 3/5 compromise.
So the 3/5 compromise was made at the constitutional convention and allowed southern states to count 3 out of every 5 slaves for the population survey that determined representation in Congress. That literally sounds like you counted me as 3/5 a human. That literally translates to your 3/5 a human. If it takes 5 of y'all to make one, then you're 3/5 a human. What fucking ever. Oh my God. Three out of every 5 slaves made one person. Because, but only if you were black. They didn't say if you were 3/5 a white person. No, it was only for black people. And he's sitting trying to correct it. Let's see.
Said that the Southern slaveholders needed to be represented fairly in Congress. And because there were so many more slaves than actual white people in the South, they were allowed to count their slaves as representation, even though those slaves did not have the ability to vote.
If we were, at that time, let's say the 3/5 compromise never happened, we were a whole person as a light of the government, right? If that happened, then this America would not be the America that you know today. Because what it was is, if it was, we were counted as...
You're defending the 3/5 compromise, bro.
Listen. No, listen for a second.
Okay.
Because I don't want you to get mischaracterized what I'm saying, okay?
Okay.
Slavery was wrong. It was absolutely disgusting and immoral thing.
Okay.
I have nothing good to say about that. But the 3/5 compromise, if you counted a person who was a slave as a whole person at that time,
yes,
most of the slaves were held in the south of the Mason-Dixon line, right?
Said that, yes.
So what would happen is they would have more representation in Congress, and thus those laws that were
she just said this, bro.
Those would have been gone. Okay, so that would have gave the South more power to do the things that they couldn't do. So that's why they said the 3/5 compromise, because then if it's 3/5 compromise, they don't get that power. But of course they're people, so they have to say something, and that's where this came into play. Because if it wasn't for that, this country would have looked a lot differently.
So you're suggesting that it was okay for slaves' bodies to not only be used for labor, but also used to empower those who are harming them to be fairly represented in government?
I think it's absolutely, they should have been used, period.
Okay, so then we agree on that.
Yeah,
so we agree on that.
It was absolutely abhorrent. There's no excuse for it. There's no
So
justification
then
for it.
where's the argument? Because ultimately when there was an opportunity in Reconstruction for there to be equality and humans considered in a real way and protected...
Democrats torched it. Andrew Johnson.
Yes. as well as the Supreme Court. That's actually more important what we have to acknowledge. The Supreme Court torched it. The Supreme Court has actively, throughout this entire existence of this nation, been at the forefront of impeding any advancement, and it ends up sending us back over and over and over again because it doesn't have term limits, because it doesn't have term limits. You know, it's not elected, it's appointed, and ultimately they have made it abundantly clear that they pick and choose when it's the states that are going to have rights and when they're going to be in.
Weed is legal, right?
Yes, but federally
it's not. So they can come down here and they can say, hey, we're going to rate all these places, and they would be completely in line with the law.
And so this is how segregation and discrimination ended up existing even after the civil rights laws of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment were passed, because Congress said we need to protect black people, and the Supreme Court said we actually are not going to give you the right to do so. For what it's worth, I think we can do this back and forth all day, but at the end of the day, I will completely agree with you. Black people need to let the Democrats go. I think black people need to let both of these parties go and figure out a way to move forward together in our own nation.
You know what? I can actually get on with that because, you know, I don't believe that all Republicans are, you know, good and not using us as well. I agree with that. I agree with that. And
let's sing a duet.
I'm for no matter what color skin you are or black, whatever it is, just think for yourself. If you think for yourself and you do your own research and you want to be a liberal radical, go for it. If you want to think for yourself
everybody
and be a Green Party,
everybody know I agree with this.
Everybody know this is my and be a Republican, then go for it.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yes.
I'm down for that. Think for ourselves. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I appreciate coming on the show and debating with Amanda. I could see that there was a care for the community and there was a care for wanting to uplift us rather than treat us like a monolith. And that's what I'm all about. Regardless of you're Democrat, Green Party, Republican, like, I just think that people are far more complex than we give them credit.
There's an active effort of folks on any side of the aisle that want to see the elevation of black people to be able to come together and have real conversations that are grounded not in stats, and this is going to sound real woo-woo, but it's what it is, that are grounded in love. And I hope that whatever anyone took away from this conversation is the reality that I really do love black people. I love people, and I love the ability to exist on this earth and have access to joy.
I think sometimes things get a little bit heated, and that's okay because emotions get the best of us. But I think overall she did pretty well for her position. I don't agree with her for the most part, but I think she did pretty well.
Just kind of seeing this dynamic, that this is really what happens. A lot of times when we look at discourse, we look at it online, so everybody's typing and typing. But this is what real discourse looks like. When you have to really sit in front of someone and unpack your arguments, you can see the pressure that causes and how you have to really kind of have your thoughts together and how heated and emotional it can get. So I think the fact that you guys, created this space for us to be able to do that is awesome. Whether it was productive or not, we'll only see. Hopefully some of the things that, we said stick with Amanda. She was using some of my quotes, about like resilience and everything. And I was like, okay, so I'm planting a little bit of seeds there. And then, of course, there were times where when she was right. And I was like, you know what? She has a point. So I think it's pretty productive if you allow it to be.
Okay, you guys. That was Amanda Seals. Surrounded, not versus. They were having a conversation. They were having a conversation of being conservative. She gave several points, and they had a chance to go up there. I think we heard from everybody. No, I don't remember hearing from that lady. I don't remember hearing from that guy in the blue shirt. I don't remember hearing from this guy in the hat. I don't think she talked to all 20 people because she only had a couple questions. And if you didn't get voted off the island, then it ran out of time. Let's get at these comments. Thanks again for coming through. Ooh, this has been an excellent conversation, you guys. Callie Nola says, yeah, and thanks for the support. Thanks for being here. I love you guys. That is my Cash App and my Venmo if you guys felt like supporting people for doing what we do. Callie Nola says, people need to look at some of the company photos of these companies and see how many black faces they see. That's not a coincidence. Exactly. That is very true. We do not have any real control in the entertainment industry. Kanye West told us, and he's he's in the entertainment industry. He knows who's in charge of his record company and all the ones that he's had access to. So I don't know why they don't want us to believe a person's firsthand experience in all of this. Corey says, I don't like Amanda or agree with all of her comments, but she knows her Black History Month. This young man is so brainwashed and indoctrinated, and that's what they're counting on, Corey. Callie says, as a person who believes we are indigenous to America and who has seen his historical proof of that, I 100% believe this African identity is what has us all confused. Interesting. That is crazy. Yes. Here's the problem with the 3/5 thing. Even at the time, all black people were not slaves. Exactly. So whether or not you were a slave or a freedman, you still were not counted as an entirety. Okay? And why not? Unless you're fucking racist. And who the fuck are you to tell me that it takes 3 of me to make 1 of you? What? What? But it only took 1 of me to pick this bale of cotton, bitch. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hi, white lady here. It's so disappointing that after all the progress made back in the 70s, that we are back to all this in 2025. Exactly. We should celebrate our colors, total equality. We are all beautiful. Thank you, Kate. Exactly. Callie Nola says, I don't think we actually made any progress in the 70s. Black people are actually economically worse off than we were during Jim Crow. Integration actually ended up hurting us. I'm sorry about all of the poop, I guess, that happens. Black home ownership has not increased since the 70s. Yeah, well, they did put other things in place. So look, they gave us the 64 Civil Rights Act and and then immediately eminent domain those motherfuckers. And the redlining was in place and so many other hurdles were in place. I actually have merch. I should put it up. I have t-shirts that say, I'm not arguing with nobody that needed 450-year head start. It's available. The little shop thing can get you there. Check out the merch. Okay. But I get what Kate is saying. It did appear that a lot of things were happening after the civil rights movement, right? A lot of things did happen for a lot of people groups, and we were supposed to be included in the people groups, and we were the ones that wrote it. Paul Anderson is a renowned person who had everything to do with that whole writing of the civil rights thing, and he said that he wrote it, and they came and told him that, oh no, he wrote it specifically for black people, and they told him they wouldn't even consider it unless he included others to make as minorities. So black people built the country. They had just got finished being enslaved. They had got redlined. They had to finally acknowledge Jim Crow in some degree. So now we're in the 60s. We get to vote, all that shit. Paul writes this beautiful civil rights bill that was like, black people should have equal opportunity at jobs and affirmation. We shouldn't get discriminated at that. And he made all of this stuff up. And he comes and he dusts it off and he takes it to the people who was in charge. And they was like, yeah. So this is only for you guys? So it's only for like the people we enslaved and who built the country? Yeah. Thanks about all that. But not really, because we're going to need you to include white women. We're going to need you to include all the other minorities. So that's going to be Asians, Latinos, and eventually became LGBTQIA. So we're going to need you to go redraft this, add all those people groups, and then bring it back to us. So he brought it back to them after he added all those people groups. And guess who ended up with everything in the thing? All the other people groups. Joke's on us again. As soon as we integrated, they immigrated and funded mass amounts of people to come here. Exactly. They now own the businesses that we used to own. Exactly. Yeah, mom and pops, Amazon killed mom and pop. Well, finished the job. Yeah, I'm not feeling the progress, because I feel like real progress would have stuck. Real progress would have been sustainable. Real progress. But fake progress, you're getting what you get. Fake progress, it doesn't even take 100 years to undo your Civil Rights Act on fake progress. Real progress would have been that we were codifying these laws. We were codifying things, and we were setting up, we were repairing the systems that made these things able to happen. But none of that happened, because right now in August 2025, which it is right now, they're undoing all of the things from the civil rights thing. They're like, fuck y'all. And like I said earlier, even if it's at their expense, they're going to do it. Because like I said, the beneficiaries of the Civil Rights Act wasn't only black people. A lot of white women, businesses and things got considered. Okay. And of course, we ended up with the model minorities, with Chinese people as a juxtaposition, as a minority life to blackness, when Chinese people were seen as, their proximity to whiteness allowed them to get the loans for businesses to put in our neighborhoods and in their neighborhoods, you know? So, I don't know. I just do wish we could all get along, but so far it hasn't been working out in a way that has been sustainable. Every time we get something, every single time, look this shit up. Look it up. Every time that something's got, a new law is made. This is one about taking your house that your mom. This is going to be in January. Let me Google this shit. Trump, January 26th. How should I put? I don't even like saying his name. I usually call him 45 or 34 counts. But Trump, inheritance changes. So, President Trump has enacted the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, right? And this bill significantly impacts inheritance and estate planning by making permanent the increased federal gift and estate tax exemption that was set to expire. Okay, so the increased exemption amount, the federal gift exemption, is now permanently set at $15 million per individual, or $30 million for married couples. Who is he talking about? Is anybody in earshot of this chat in that income bracket? So the federal estate and gift tax exemption is permanently set at $15 to $30 million starting in 2026. Previously, the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act had doubled the exemption amount, but included a provision for it to revert to a lower level after 2025. The bill removes the sunset provision, and it provides long-term certainty for estate planning in the $15 million to $30 million range. I'm not sure if any of the houses I only ever sold a $1.2 million house as a real estate agent. Okay, that was my highest sell. This permanent increase shields more families from federal tax exposure and will likely result in significant savings for high net worth individuals. The new higher exemption might not seem like a significant change. However, without this bill, the exemption amount would have dropped, making the permanent increase impactful for those whose wealth exceeds $15 million. So I don't know if he has all the regular schmegular Americans that voted for him in mind when he's saving people that shit's worth over $15 million. Oh, and it introduces Trump accounts. Trump accounts, a new tax deferred investment plan for children, allowing contributions and providing capital gains on withdrawals. High level overview. So let's see what else it says. So trustandwill.com says that estate planning is something most people don't think about until it's too late. Actually, if you DM me, I can get you a free estate plan and some other things. I do asset protection, real estate, all kind of stuff, so you can live a larger life here at LRGA Curves. Okay? One of the biggest headlines from his proposal is that it only applies to estates worth more than $13.99 million. That means unless you're among the wealthy 1%, it won't apply. Currently, about 1 of every 1,300 estates is subject to estate tax. For decades, heirs have benefited from something called setup and basis when they inherit assets. If your parent bought a home for $100,000 years ago, here's how it works. If your parent bought a home for $100,000 years ago and now it's worth $500,000, you'd inherit the home at its current market value, $500,000. If you then sold it for that amount, you didn't owe any capital gains. But under the proposed tax changes, unless your house is over $13 million, here's what's about to happen to you. Under the proposed changes, this could be eliminated. Instead, heirs would inherit assets at their original purchase price, meaning you would owe capital gains on the difference. So we said, for the example, that if your parents bought the house in 2008 for $100,000 and then they pass it on to you in 2027 and its accumulated value in California is easily now $2.4 million, you're now going to owe taxes on the, let's say it's $2.1 million. You're now going to owe taxes on the $2 million because the 0.1 is 100,000, which was the original value. So you don't owe taxes on the 100,000, but you do owe taxes on the appreciation. And if you can't pay it off, I think there's something. Let's continue reading. So under the proposed, meaning they would owe capital gains on the entire appreciation when they sell the house. Using the same example, if you inherited a $500,000 home, but had used the original $100,000 purchase price as the basis, you'll get taxed on $400,000 when you sell. This is where the average American could feel an impact. Many families pass down real estate stocks and small businesses, not realizing that eliminating the setup basis could saddle heirs with tax liabilities. While the proposal doesn't outline specific new tax brackets, the elimination of the setup basis means far more families would be on the hook for capital gains when selling inherited assets. If your family owns a home or has investments that have appreciated over time, this change could hit you harder than you expect. Who needs to worry about it, and what should you know? If you're inheriting a property or other investments, be prepared for a possible tax bill if you plan to sell. Consider working with an estate planner to explore ways to minimize capital gains. If you're planning your estate, this change can warrant a review of how your assets are structured. Some strategies, like gifting assets while you're still alive or utilizing trusts, which I have access to as a licensed financial professional, and can get you with certain products like mortgage protection for free. Okay, so you can have a free will and a free trust to put your home into so that you can usurp this law, it sounds like. So you utilize a trust. It could help reduce the tax burden. If you think this won't impact you, think again. Even middle-class families who inherit homes, small businesses, or stock portfolios could face unintended consequences when these laws come into play. So get ahead of these things by reviewing your estate plan, understand how your assets could be affected, explore smart tax strategies to protect your family's financial future. Okay? I don't know how I got on that, but we were talking about stuff. So yeah, everybody needs to make sure their home and their parents' home is in a family trust. Exactly. I just said that. Exactly. You need your home in a trust. And that also protects you. So like if you get sued and your home's in a trust, then they can't take your house because you don't have a house. The trust has your house. The trust has your car. The trust has your bank account. The trust has it all. You see what I'm saying? The trust has your policies. So there are ways that you can get set up so that you can get fortified for a sustainable future. Now, I do really appreciate everybody coming through. We're coming right up on, an hour, we're right over an hour and a half. But this has been a really robust conversation. You know, that's the way I like them over here on LRGA Curves. I'm going to go finish twisting my hair. And see, look, I did a like twist. What did I do? I twisted. I think that looks pretty. See? So I just was like retwisting and then do a twist down. So then when I take it out, it'll be wavy in the front. Okay. So you guys, remember, there's enough to go around. Especially if you put it in a trust before they can tax that shit. Call me. Peace.